that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Brother B.A. Ben Abraham, and I'm your host of the Man Up segment on Debate Talk For You platform. The objective is for all brothers from different walks of life to come together, link up, and build on matters concerning all various stages of life. If anyone would like to reach out on concepts and ideas, you can reach Brother B.A. at radicalrhyme1984 at gmail.com. Again, radicalrhyme1984 at gmail.com. Tap in. Let's build. Shalom. Shalom.
Peace and shalom. This is Imuna Yisrael from the Sunshine State, and I am tuned into Debate Talk For You, the place where you can get intellectual exchange with no profanity. I love it. One.
What's the word? It's B.A. Ben Abraham, and you're tuning in live to Debate Talk For You. We got a special segment this evening with the RBG Hebrews. So right now, I'm not quite aware. I'm not sure who's on the panel at this moment. But if any of the brothers are here, we could just start off. And, so what we'll do, we'll allow the co-host to announce himself and introduce himself, and we'll jump into the segment.
Yeah, shalom, shalom, family. It's the Anonymous Hebrew. All praise to the Most High. Just looking forward to having a good show tonight. We'll go ahead and bring out some good information. So, like Brother B.A. said, checking to make sure right now that we have all of the guests set up. So, go ahead, Brother B.A.
Yes, and for the brothers, for one of the brothers who was here already, we'll fall back and allow you to speak and introduce yourself.
All right, shalom. First, I want to give all praise and honor to the Most High in the name of His only begotten. And my name is James CASSELL. You know, my Hebrew name, Yaakov Ben Israel. I pretty much, since I was about 6, my uncle has been telling me about this, and, I dove more into it. And the way I was brought up into it was more on the RBG side of things, because from his perspective, because he came through, a time when after Vietnam, he went through the Vietnam War, and then he came back, and he was going through all the time during, the strife and stuff that was going on in the South and stuff that was part of all that. He came up through that line, and that's the way he taught me and introduced me to it. Now, I have grown. My perspective has grown a lot, since my younger years through a lot of my research and stuff, but I still hold to a lot of the core tenets of what it was about, the socio-economic and political thing that is really about galvanizing our people here and becoming an economic force and connecting with West Africa. But
okay, brother. How you doing, Brother James? You probably don't remember me, man, from way back in the hangouts. BA. It's been a minute. Most definitely is good, and a pleasure to be speaking with you again. My first question, my brother, what is the RBG? What does that stand for?
That stands for red, black, and green. I want to give a shout-out to Divine Prospect on this one because he actually did a video talking about the RBG. It stands for the flag because a song was made back in the day that pretty much was saying that every people has a flag except the Negro that's here. So our ancestors came up with, the RBG as a symbol for us and what we went through here in America. So it's not like, a lot of the lens of how it was taken and used to connect with West Africa and the strong connection with Africa, but it mainly was just a flag or a standard that was put up for us and what we went through here in America.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, for those who are, for the first time hear the term RBG Hebrew, now some people may be aware of the term Hebrew or the label or the name. They can identify with that. But the RBG Hebrew, what does that mean overall, and how is it effective for individuals such as yourself, Ron Divine Prospect, Brother Edwards, and the various other brothers who subscribe to the doctrine or the lifestyle or whatever you may call it?
Okay. One thing I want to say is it's not like it's, just like we're Hebrew Israelites, we have very different, diverse thoughts. So it's not like one thought, but it mainly deals with, like I was saying, the galvanizing of our people here. The difference that I may have is I think we all prioritize our people here first, but I think we should, focus more on our people here than we focus on anywhere else. And until we're together here, we don't need to focus on anywhere else. But it's mainly about the socio-political and economic movement, about, using our strength, our power and numbers that we have as Israelites across America to actually make change in government and to do things like that. I know some people may be against that thought process, but so the matter is our ancestors have always done that. Daniel back in Babylon, it's always gone on. We've used our political strength in order to, get better things for our people during our captivity. It's also about the economic movement, which the Bible teaches us fundamentally that we're supposed to buy and trade amongst one another and keep those dollars within our own community. And then, and it's also about, as it is for every Hebrew Israelite, it's about Torah, But I think another perspective that we come from is we like to use more secular means of conveying our message. We all know the Bible. We're all good with the Bible and strong with the Bible. But we know that a lot of people out there don't respect the Bible. And it's hard to give it to them from the Bible because they'll ignore it. So we'll give them pretty much everything the Bible says from a secular perspective, which gives them a chance to then come look at the Bible through a whole new light, like it's not something fake, but it's something that's real and tangible for them to hold on to.
Most definitely, I can respect that. That's most definitely an interesting way to get the message out there, because a lot of people, when they hear that we're Hebrews or whatever belief you subscribe to concerning the biblical text, they look at it through the eyes of their oppressor, or they look at it through the eyes of those bad or ill representatives that we have in society today. So I most definitely can appreciate the thought, and I most definitely can respect it. Now, I know we just kind of asked you about how can it be effective, but how this method or this way of life, how can we teach it to our kids, and how can it be effective for them as they grow older? How are you implementing it towards the youth and things of that nature?
Well, I mean, when it comes to teaching the youth, I don't think it's too much of a different avenue or perspective than how any other Israelite would see about teaching the youth. It's important that we teach them Torah, have them a very good, solid foundation in Torah. It's important that we also, educate them finally in other means of not only conveying the message that Torah teaches us to convey, but, means of, rising our people up above the station we at right now. Because the Bible tells us that while we're in captivity, we're supposed to build houses. We're supposed to plant vineyards. We're supposed to, farm. We're supposed to do all these things. And the only way for a lot of us to do these things is to do it collectively. And one thing we do is I don't think we like to divide lines amongst, certain beliefs or certain doctrines on how we connect with each other. And I think that's a thing that's going on throughout the Hebrew Israelite community that's very, very powerful and strong, that doctrines aren't dividing us anymore. But we think it's more about, coming together, using our economic strength, and as far as conveying it to the children like you were bringing up. These are basic things that you teach children so they grow up and be strong and powerful in their communities, because everything starts right there at home, and also it teaches them, ways to combat people that come at them with, oh, well, science says this and science says that. That's something that's very hard for people to deal with because they're always seen as being religious. But when you show them, no, this is a culture. This is an indigenous culture, and we can show you through the historical record, through the archaeological record, through genetics and different sciences, and how all this is true. And there's no reason for those kids to then grow up and be easily, moved to the left or to the right because of the fact that, they're coming at them with all this science, and we can show them, hey, look, there's no way to get around the facts of the matter, that we are these people, this is our culture, and we're going to do what Torah says, because that's what's going to elevate us out of our captivity. And I think that's important to teach the kids.
Most deaf, that's good. So my next question will pose, I'm asking rather, excuse me, who are the pillars and the influential individuals and characters who helped you? I'm getting tongue-tied. I apologize for that. Who are the pillars who influenced you brothers to come together with the RBG Hebrew lifestyle?
Okay, a big pillar for me, like I said, was my uncle. He was very influential in this. Like I said, he told me when I was very young, about 6, about, you know, that we were Israelites, you know, about how the Bible was the story of our ancestors and things like that. And he gave it to me from the perspective of, like I said, everything he went through during the civil rights movement, you know, going through Vietnam, coming back, having to fight in corporate America and things like that. You know, my father, who was of the same influence, he just wasn't as talkative about it. And that was just very core to my foundation. And then they introduced me to people like Marcus Garvey, you know, they were, you know, Malcolm X, you know, just, you know, and then later on you get to Khalid Muhammad, you know, and it just, I was influenced by a lot of people, because I think that one of the things about the RBG perspective that is great is that we delve into different things and we bring out the good things that are from all types of different perspectives that are put forth. And being able to do that, I think is, I think it positions us in order to be influential in different areas, because in a lot of Israel, everyone's going around, you know, teaching the scriptures, teaching people how to live by Torah and stuff, but not many of them are prepared to teach them how to really build a community from the ground up. And I think that's something that us RBG brothers are ready to do, and we want to use some of the foundational tenets like what Marcus Garvey used with UNIA, and not really divide it amongst, what we believe, but just look at it like, look, we are all people of the diaspora, and we need to work together in order to rise above the stations that we're in right now, because that's the most important thing. And whether a person believes they're Israel or not shouldn't matter more than the fact that we know they are Israel. So then we should be trying to bring them together anyway. And then we should be showing them that Torah is a good moral fabric for our community, whether you see yourself as an Israelite or not, because that's what it's really about, getting them back to Torah, and through that, that's when you introduce them to Christ, or the Mashiach, depending, you know, on how people like to say it. And I think that that's important, and I think that's the perspective that we bring, thanks to the foundational things like what Marcus Garvey set up, from what my uncles and them taught him, and from many other people in the South.
And as an RBG Hebrew, well, you pretty much stated that you're willing to work with all of our people. And that's one thing I have noticed on the internet from time to time. I've seen brothers like Divine Prospect and various other brothers reach out and work with other people, or other how can I word that? Other Israelites or individuals who are not aware of the Israelites. More of our people who subscribe to different thoughts. Like I've seen how Ron Divine reaches out to the commissions, various like Muslims and things of that nature. So overall, the whole goal of the RBG Hebrew is not necessarily for Hebrews in particularly, but for all our people. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe it's more for all of our people, and to get us aimed at one goal. And through that, you know, us being leaders in the forefront of the movement, that I think that would naturally bring people into looking into what we're saying. And when they really see the evidence that we have to support what we're saying, not only from the Bible, but from secular sources, then it just makes it that much easier for them to make that transition and then begin to do what the Most High wants them to do with their lives, which is to spread that word and show people how to really live by his laws and tenets.
Yeah, most definitely I do. Man, that's some good information. And you pretty much answered the questions I had, man. And Anonymous, my brother, if there's anything you would like to ask the brother, you can most definitely go ahead and continue on.
Yes,
no
stand by,
doubt,
Anonymous. Stand by, Anonymous. I'm going to let you continue. I just want to let the family know that, once again, that number is 319-527-6239. We're trying to get the other special guests here. We have a lot of callers, though, so if any of the special guests is on the phone lines, do me a favor, just press number 1, and we'll bring you in the conversation. By the way, we have Moray Iftak here. Say hello to the people, Moray Iftak.
Hey, shalom, everyone. Peace and blessings to everybody in the room. Shalom to Brother B.A., my brother SAL, Showtime as usual. I think I heard Anonymous Hebrew and everybody else who's on the phone line. I bid you all in the tongue of our forefather, Shabbat Shalom, and peace and blessings to you all. Thank you for having me on the show. Just getting in a little bit late. Everything's good, bro. Everything is good. Glad to hear your voice, man. Glad to know everything is good. So I'm just, right now, I'm just kind of like kicking back. I'm trying to get the vibe of everything that's going on here. I know Brother Sal told me what was going on, earlier, but I just want to kind of let y'all flow out a little before I start to chime in. So, again, I thank y'all for having me on the show, and I look forward to contributing a little bit later.
All right, we appreciate you. All right, once again, to the special guest supposed to be joining us, once you dial that number, 319-527-6239, then you press number 1, and that lets me know that you're here, and we'll add you to the conversation. But Anonymous Hebrew, my apologies. Continue. Go ahead.
No, you good. You good. And shalom to the Moray. Good to hear your voice, Moray. How you doing, Brother CASSELL? You doing all right tonight?
Yes, I'm doing fine.
That's good. That's good. I don't got too much for you. I mean, I know we'll get more into it as the other brothers come on. My first question for you is just addressing, you had spoke about the divide along different doctrinal beliefs and trying not to step on those beliefs, but more how to interweave the communities. Like, what is your proposal? Or what is the RBG perspective in terms of how to properly interweave those communities without having strife? Because we see a lot of strife between all of these various communities. Like, how do you properly do that without it turning into the doctrinal fight that we see and hear on the internet a lot?
Well, I think one thing that we have to first realize is that little doctrinal fight is never going to disappear. It's always going to be in the backdrop. I mean, we've always had it since, ancient times. So we're always going to have a little bickering and stuff. I think it's really about directing us towards the goal. Like, what can we do for our community collectively to bring us together at the table together? And I think one great goal would be dealing with, like, different economic movements. Like as we are many different groups around America in different places, there's a lot of things we can do when we set ourselves up, like, for nonprofits, for instance. Set ourselves up for nonprofits where we can get real cheap loans, because I'm a real estate agent, so you can get real cheap loans from, like, the FHA to go in, fix up a bunch of dilapidated houses. You only have to put, like, 3.5% down, doing things like that, like what I'm going to get ready to start doing down here in Houston. Getting a bunch of Hebrew Israelites down here in the Houston area together and seeing if they want to put money towards doing things like that. And that's just something to bring money into the community in order to relieve a lot of issues that's going on, with bills, rent, bills. That's something people got to spend a lot of time working for to take care of their family. And you want to do things in order to help alleviate some of that so we can focus more in our communities, implement morality in our communities through helping with community organizations, trying to get on different boards of different organizations within the community that's actually doing work. And that way we'll be able to better help our people. And then through what we're doing and the different things we're doing in outreaches and stuff, then we could bring people into the truth about who we are as a people. And I think that by putting that first above, just the little disputes that we are going to have, and I think that we should have those debates, but it should be at a better format, like brothers sitting down and just talking it out instead of yelling back and forth at each other. And I think that if we can do that, it will make our communities that much more powerful to face the people that are coming against us every single day, trying to take away from the message that we're putting forth because of a lot of the other issues that's going on within our community.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. I appreciate that answer. And so the last part of what you said about those that are coming to us, that leads to my second question, is how do we navigate around the fear and the tactics that the colonizer uses against us? I mean, this has been around since the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even before then, obviously. But as we know now for sure what their tactics are, how do we navigate around that in this day and age?
Well, I think a lot of their tactics always have a little, gray area for us to move and work in. I mean, just over the last decade, it was a decade for the children of the diaspora that have been spread all over the world from Africa. And in that, it said that we have the right to set up our own institutions to teach our children. We have the right to, come together to create our own economic movements and stuff without the government coming in and interrupting that. Now, whether that happens or not, we don't know. But one other thing we have is that we know that as long as we're doing what the Most High wants us to do, that no weapon formed against us can prosper anyway. So whatever they want to do becomes irrelevant at that point. But we have to know that, and we have to move like that. And that's why that's why I always give honor to my family all the time, because they have taught me that, that, there's always seems to be something holding you back, but if you'll buckle down and put in the work, like the Bible says, be diligent. So we're diligent in everything that we do, and we work hard. Those obstacles start to move out the way because the Most High moves them. But we just, like I said, we just got to buckle in and do the work and just stop letting the excuses hold us down. And I think that's something that our side of the movement really, really pushes. And I think we need to push it all together as Israel, because unity is paramount at this point in time, because I think this is the time where we can really come together and make changes because of all of the crazy political things going on here in America, that if we can get our act together, then we can make a serious push to do something great for our people all over the world. But it starts here with us.
Right. I couldn't agree more. This is great. So it sounds to me like, well, I guess I should ask first. Is it your perspective then that this first begins with Israel, or is it just trying to get the ball rolling? Because I know, like you said, you deal with various doctrinal beliefs, but is it your belief that we first need to really focus on Israel, or how do you think that should play out?
Well, I think it is paramount that we first focus on Israel, because and those Israelites that know they're Israel, because they're already in the truth. We're already halfway there. We're already trying our best to act out these laws, statutes, and commandments. So the only next move is for us to actually make political and economic moves together. I mean, if a lot of Israelites say, we're not supposed to put another nation above us. Okay, let's vote our own people into office then. Let's put our own people on boards and councils in the city and different places like that, in commerce. That way we can make these economic movements. It's so important, like I said earlier, to not let the excuses hold us down and to really, really push. And I think if we do that, starting here with Israel, it'll be natural people fall in line. Look at what's going on a lot in the conscious community. Everything's about, we making money, we doing this, but they not doing it for real. Everything is a scam here, a scam there. With Israel, we got laws, we got ethics that we have to be bound to. And if anyone is not bound to that, we know we got to cut them off from our people.
Yep.
So if we start there, everyone else will naturally fall in line, because they like, hey, these guys are doing righteous things and they're making money to help our people. And that's important. If we don't have people that's actually making the money to help our people, then everything we talking is for nothing. Because if we look back in the days, what you would do is you would have rich people in the church that would fund a lot of things going on. And that's important that we have that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So then my next question about this entire thing, because this is something that I talk about with a lot of brothers behind the scenes, is how do we go about creating some type of leadership council? Or is that even important? Because when I bring it up to a lot of people who have been, boots on the ground for many, many decades and years, it almost seems like that's not in the forefront of a lot of people. There are a lot of brothers that are trying to do it behind the scenes, but it seems like it turns into, various conflicts. Like, is that important to create some form of leadership council? And if so, how do we go about doing that?
I think that it's extremely important that we do it. And I think that the thing is, a lot of organizations already have their own leadership already in place. And the thing is, I think that the leaders need to be of those organizations within certain areas. Like here in Houston, we have ISUPK, we have AOC Houston, I believe Sakari Houston still out here, GOCC, IUIC, GMS. We have all these people already here with their own things set up and stuff. So why can't we have the leadership of those groups sit at the table and everyone's equal? It doesn't have to be a thing about, who's in charge of this and who's in charge of that. Everyone's equal, and then whatever a person's skill is, when a job or a task comes up that's important for our community, that person who's best skilled for the task, then they're the leader of getting that job done. And there doesn't need to be one grand leader sitting over somebody or something like that. I don't believe that that's needed. It's only needed when there's a job to get done. Like in Israel, you had your war chief, which was like a king when you're getting ready to go to war with nations. That's what he's there for when it comes to administrative things. But I think that it's important that we do something like that, and we already have our own code of ethics, and it's important that our different groups hold even people of other groups to the same standard that they hold people in their own groups as far as keeping the commandments. And I think there should be no backlash for that. I think that's something that happens a lot in our community that should be frowned upon by everyone. When another brother speaks up against something that he thinks wrong, he seems to get a backlash if it's not in tune with your doctrine, quote unquote, or the way you see that. Well, I think we have very good core tenets that we follow that no one can argue against. And I think that outside of keeping those core tenets in the Torah, that we should abstain from judging one another, but also be willing to accept criticism from our brothers with tough skin. Because iron must sharpen iron. And when that happens, sparks fly. That's just what happens when iron sharpens iron. So you got to be willing to take those chips and those nicks that come along with a brother correcting you, no matter whether he's in your sect or you want to call it or not. And I think that if we're able to do that and people are able to use their own skills and recognize what skills they bring to the table for the jobs that have to be done, then we will have no problem in these councils. It should be mainly, like I said, the elders sitting down talking about what's needed for our community, finding the person who can get the job done with the best skills for it, and putting them in charge of getting it done and just making decisions in that manner. I think if we do it like that, it'll be easier for us to transition to something on a more national scale, but it has to start right there in your city, in your region, with you.
Man, thank you for that. I do have some more questions, but I don't want to take up the entire time. So I know the Moray usually, well, always, I should say, has some wonderful questions. So, Moray, did you want to chime in? Did you want to go ahead and ask the brother Cassell a couple of questions?
Yes, my brother. Thank you for allowing me to get in. So I heard your statements, and I just want to let you know you made some great statements. You got some great ideas, and prayerfully we can make those things happen. But I have a question because as a person who's been in this way of life for over 20 years now, I stop and I look, and I've been a part of these meetings, and people have stopped and said, we need to get more businesses. and we need to get land, and we need to have a school, and we need to have a store, and we need to have a farm, and, you know, have our own crops and things of that nature. And the thing that I've always seen was that there is a stop gate somewhere along the way where the words don't come to action. So we'll stop and we'll have conversations like we're having now, and everybody will be excited, and everybody will be like, yup, let's do it. This is what we're going to do. In your opinion, from the things you've been privy to and the experience you have, what are some of those stop gates, and do you feel that there's actually an answer for us in these days and times to make sure that those things don't prevent us from putting words to action?
Yes, I think one of the biggest stop gates, and I want to thank you, Morey. I think that is a great question, too. But one of the biggest things is I think that a lot of us really lack faith in our ability to make it happen. I think that we use the excuses, I don't want to say excuses, use the curses as an excuse not to rise above them. You know, and for many people who are messianic, as myself, our Mashiach says that with faith we can do much. And there's nothing, like I said, if we're doing what the Torah says for us to do, no weapon formed against us can prosper anyway, but we have to believe that and be willing to get out there and do the actions. The reason people don't step out there on the actions is because they're scared to fail. And they're scared that if they fail, then somehow their faith will be dampened. But if you believe, like you say you believe, and you're willing to put the effort and the action in, no matter how many people come together, if 2 or 3 of them are serious about it, you can make the moves that needs to be made. Really, it only takes one. Like I said, I have the example right here in my family with another one of my uncles who he went out, got into real estate. He's teaching it to me right now, showing me how to do it. And he himself has been able to hire me at times, hire my brother at times, you know. So it would be nothing for one person to even start this. That's why I said I'm going to try to start it myself right here in Houston, whether other brothers help or not. And then in time, when you show with your deeds what's going on, then people will naturally start being like, hey, I see it's actually happening. It's happening for him, and he's willing to show me how to do the same. And that's what's important, brothers being able to reach out and actually help brothers and not try to take advantage of them. And like I said, if we're really doing it by Torah, we really believe in the Most High like we're supposed to, we're not going to try to cheat a brother. We're going to do the right thing by those brothers. And then, like I said, it'll be an example, a shining light for everyone to see and follow. And like I said, it starts with one, and then it becomes many. But like I said, we got to believe.
Okay, so I'm glad you made that statement. That's a great statement. Also, and I'm glad you used the word, and that word was faith. I've been within teachings, and there's a question coming here. I've been within teachings that have stopped, and the teacher has taught that the reason why we can't be successful in these here lands is because we're in captivity. And because we're in captivity, the Most High won't bless it because he doesn't want us to get too comfortable with being amongst strangers, and that if we do that, then we'll never want to go home. So my question is 2-part. Have you ever been exposed to teachings like that or heard of that type of teaching? And if so, what are your thoughts on that type of teaching as far as us trying to build things here in captivity, and do you think that it will hold the people back from actually wanting to go home?
Well, I have heard that teaching. I think that teaching is a double-edged sword, though it does hold some truth. And the reason is because everyone is not made to do every task. You know, some people are made to just, you know, be there and work hard, be diligent, and follow the orders that's put before them, because that's why when you look at our ancient culture, every male was in the military. because a lot of people are there, but you have leaders amongst them that are supposed to direct them and guide them in the right paths to go. So I think that those is on those leaders to stand up and be that beacon to show people how to get it done. And I think there was another part of your question, if you could say it again so I can respond to it.
Yeah, right. So the teaching is there and it's prevalent. Is there a way to, what should we do about that? Because there are people who stop and say, it's unfortunate, but you got people who stop and say, the reason why I can't get a job is because the Most High won't allow it to happen here. And, there's a rant, if you will, that goes on about what we can and what we can't do. So in your opinion, how do we stop? Because don't forget, when you hear those teachings, those are coming from a leadership perspective. Those are coming from a point of, this is what you need to understand. How do we get past that?
Well, like I said, I think we get past that through individual examples. Like I said, from people who consider themselves to be leaders who don't agree with that. Because like I said, some people, they need to be guided in a way, but there is nothing that I think that we are prohibited from achieving economically here. I mean, if you don't believe that you can go out and get a job from someone else or someone of another nation, then go get a job yourself. Make a job.
Own business,
go out
right.
and go to the small business bureaus and get loans. They're giving loans for retail, to start retail stuff, especially for our community, because it's become a big issue of pushing job creations within our community. Reach out to a lot of these foundations that go out their way to help people to start their own businesses. I mean, you got to get up and go do something. You can't keep sitting at home and complaining about things not changing when you're not willing to get up and go change them. I mean, like, to me, I've come so far just in the last, I'd say about 5 years, just in growing as a man, from the example of the men in my family, being around them more, attaching myself to the hip of them, that's shown me that there's nothing I can't do. Nothing. But I just have to put in the hard work to get it done. And there are going to be obstacles that's going to pop up in my way. But if I'm steady working hard, it may take me a while to get through, but I'm going to bust through that obstacle. I just got to believe that I can get through it. And I got to believe in myself, and that's important, that we believe in ourselves. The Most High believe in us. He wouldn't have put us through it if he didn't. So we got to believe in ourselves that we can overcome. And he told us to get out, build houses, plant vineyards. They're giving loans to do things like that. So we need to get out there and go get those loans. Go out there. Or if you don't want to get loans, come together with a group of people that you trust. Get your money together and start doing something to create jobs in your community.
Right. And, the thing that I would tell you is those teachings of Marcus Garvey and those people who considered themselves Garveyites, who some of them actually went on to profess to be Israel and things of that nature, that was the idea that our land would be for us and we would have to understand how to work it. So in order to understand how to work and to understand how to do business with one another, we can't think that we're going to just go into Israel, start doing business, and understand how to properly do business. We have to practice those principles here so that when we go into the land, we can actually be a functioning nation. But I thank you for your responses, brother. I appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, I just want to say that you're absolutely correct on that part. I mean, if you even notice, when we went into every captivity we went into, we came out with new skills from being in that captivity. So I think that it's important that we understand that we're going to learn from this captivity. And everything that we learn from this captivity is supposed to be used in the kingdom and implemented in order to set it up. So if we're not, like you said, if we're not doing the economic things here, we're not going to do them in the kingdom. You're going to be a servant instead of a ruler in the kingdom. The Most High expects a lot of us. You know, that's why he chose us. So we need to go out there and work to be the best people that we can be in every aspect of our lives. And I think that's one important thing about being an RBG. We think, well, I think in Israelite in general, that you have to be willing to go through the mental rigorous study. You have to be willing to put your body through the training that's necessary to survive, and you got to be willing to eat right and correctly and take care of yourself. And I mean, it's hard to do it. I'm struggling to get it all done right now, but like I said, we all got to work towards that because that's what the Most High expects of us. Because we have to prepare for that kingdom life, not sit here and just say, "Oh, we're stuck in captivity and we can't get beyond it." No, that's a lie. You know, with the blood of Christ, all my shackles were set free. So I can do everything I need to do right here in America in order to help my people go reach another level. But like I said, we all have to be willing to put in that work. And then next thing you know, things are changing and we're moving closer to where the Most High wants us to be, for him to come and redeem us out of this captivity. We can go into our own land and set up the kingdom the way it's supposed to be set up.
IBA?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So, Brother James, so what was it that brought you, Brother Divine Prospect, and the various other brothers together? What did it take to bring you guys together to be a force and to come up with the things you're doing today?
One of the things that brought us together is a passion and love for our people and understanding who we are and the responsibilities we have. We understand that we each have unique perspectives to bring to the community that are different from what's already out there. And we understand that there's going to be differences that we have, and we can all sit down and actually have conversation about those differences without it being some aggressive or, you know, boisterous or gangbang type intellectual thing. We can sit down, we can talk to each other, and we can, you know, bring these things to the community to the forefront so we can show our people that there is a way to overcome these curses that we have. But also, look, we don't have to forget about the curses. We don't have to forget about what we've been through, and we should want justice for what our people have been through. And that we're not turning our blind eye to that, but we understand that we want what's best for our people right here, right now. And that's what the RBG movement has always been about, and reaching out to the people who are of the diaspora all across the world, not just here in America, but we understand that if we can't do it right here, right now, then reaching out to them is pointless, because what do we have to give them? We're in the most prosperous place in the world, and if we can't succeed here to reach out to them in order to help them, then what are we reaching out to them for?
All right, I'm feeling that, and I most definitely love it. Is there a specific political ideology that you guys subscribe to?
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't say that there's a specific political ideology that we subscribe to, but if they were to put us under a quote-unquote ideology, they would call us alt-right, to be honest.
And why would you say alt-right, if you don't mind answering?
Well, because a lot of our views, because they're pretty much hardcore Bible views, they're conservative views in the political arena. And the reason I say alt-right is because our group is looked at as fringe or extremist groups. So therefore they put them in an alt category, or sometimes even, they go as far as saying we're racial extremists, so they'll put us in an alt category, even though all of us aren't that. But that's just the way they go about doing things like that on a political level in order to categorize people to easily attack them.
And do you personally see yourself, or do you consider yourself alt-right, or more conservative than anything else, personally?
Definitely conservative more than anything else, because, like I said, if you have hardcore biblical moral views, you're automatically fall under that conservative umbrella on a political level. Now, as far as the alt no, I wouldn't consider myself that, but that it doesn't really, matter what we really consider ourselves as much as they try to push the subjective view. They will categorize you, throw a label on you, and then drag you through the mud with it or lift you high with it. So, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, most definitely, I do agree. And I'm aware that you guys are trying to take this beyond the internet. I'm not even going to ask you that. So with that being said, what is the overall goal of all you brothers coming together? And I know locally you guys are doing things in your, where you live at, but beyond locally, what is the goal?
Well, the goal is to become a national force on the economic and political level, because unless we become one, then we're always at the bottom. You see, that there's people that come here from all over the world, and they can lean on their own people to give them loans, to buy apartment complexes, to start small businesses, to do all types of things, and we don't have that here. That's one of the biggest complaints of our people, is that we don't have access to funds. And something that we want to do is help our people find access to these funds and come together collectively to galvanize the funds in order to support our people. And I think another big goal is for us to, if you want to call it, to have our own type of political party in order for the best interest of our people here in America, to put our money, to tell us what we need to put our money towards pushing and what we need to take our money away from. Because, like, in America, we have tremendous spending power as a people. We spend billions upon billions of dollars in a year. Women do it on weed. You see what I'm saying? Guys do it on buying cars, watches, almost $1 trillion. If we could put that money towards really pushing a good image of our people on a global level, in a propaganda, because we have to do our own propaganda because we see the propaganda that they do of us. A lot of nations come to America and don't deal with us just because of what they see on TV. They think we're all gangbangers and killers and robbers or in the club acting all crazy and stuff like that. They don't see us as people who can really be about business and pushing our people forward. Because like I tell a lot of the brothers that I talk to from the One West and other perspectives, even when we look at what the Most High had Moses do, he had him go talk to the Pharaoh and present a political matter. We want to go out here and serve our God, because that's what politics was back in the day, what God you serve. So it was done on a political level, on a political stage. But like I said, we have to have that strength. We have to have that political and economic strength and galvanize it, because we have the advantage of being here in America. And if we can galvanize it nationally, then we can send it to our people all over the world and gather that great, great multitude that the Most High talks about. But we're going to have networks set up to do that. And I believe the Most High has given us the ability to do that, and given a lot of us the inspiration and will to push towards doing that, because the Most High expects a lot of us, like I said earlier, not for us to just sit back and do nothing. There's always been things that we had to do, groundwork and foundations that we had to lay, and we have to be prepared to do it. And if you're not prepared to do it, I think it's best that a lot of people just be quiet talking about how much they are about Israel, because being about Israel is about galvanizing our people. Come together, O nation undesired. That's what the Most High said, and that's what we're supposed to do.
Yo, Sal, we got any callers on standby? Sal?
Well, Sal may have to step away for a quick second, but
Hey, Shalom. If I may, can I ask a question?
Oh,
this is Moray. Okay, so I heard about the plans that you guys got going forward. Is there like a tentative timeline that you guys have in place to try to get something done, or is this just like a filling out process right now?
I think right now a lot of the groundwork is being laid in a lot of areas, and it's really about the grassroots upstarts right now. So, and it's hard to put a timeline on grassroots upstarts because it's really about the people getting out there and doing it and being inspired. And right now, it's in the inspiration phase. Like, we have to inspire people to understand that we can come above the levels that we're at right now. Once we can wrap people around it and that we as the leaders are individually implementing these things in our lives and then able to show it out to the forefront to people and the people that are close and around us, then we'll be able to take it on a more scaled level. We'll be able to scale it to a higher level where we can set it up in different communities and kind of just unwrap it like charters all around America. But yeah, right now I don't think that we can set a timeline on it because it's really based on the people and their move to do the things that they're inspired to do by the Most High. And I think that everyone has deep desires in their heart that they want to do because the Most High put it there because our nation needs it. But they have to be willing to move and act on it. That's why I brought up faith earlier. They have to have faith that they can actually do these things and push and not let nothing get in their way until they do it. And when that happens, then it'll just, boom, jump off.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So is there like, and I'm just, I kind of came in late on this conversation. I just wanted to understand. Did you say that you're trying to like set this off in Houston first?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yes,
I'm trying to do it on my Houston, but Divine has his things going on in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
You have other brothers all over the U.S. that has their little things going on. The thing is, I think that would be very powerful is that, number one, we come up with some type of core curriculum that is outside of doctrine based on just the core beliefs and the different historical and archaeological things that we can do to teach that to our children. I think that's one of the foundational things that we need to come together and do because everyone's going to have their own views and perspectives on what the scriptures conveying to them. But I think if we could lay that groundwork to where we can teach this across the board to any Hebrew Israelite child, something that doesn't, step on any doctrine's toes, I think that'll be something that really helps with the educational phase because it's likely not going to be our generation that makes the moves. It's normally the generation beforehand that inspires the next generation to make the moves that's needed, and we need to educate that next generation so they can implement a lot of the plans that we won't be able to implement in the time we're in now because all new plans take time to catch fire, and it usually takes about 10 years or so before good plans really catch fire and blaze out.
Yo, this is BA. I've been just informed that we have another guest on the panel. For that other guest, we'll allow the brother to step up and announce himself and introduce himself to the audience and to the panel.
Hey, am I good? Can you hear me, brother?
You sound a little far away. You sound a little far away.
Okay, let me fix this. 1 second. All right. All right. Should be better now. How about now?
Yeah, there we go. What's going on, my brother?
That's better.
It's Michael Edwards, by the way.
All right, yeah. Well, man, peace to everybody here. I'm not sure who's in the conversation right now, but I want to say peace, shalom, Black power, Pan-Africanist power, RBG power to everybody in the room. And I'm sorry I'm late because my phone, had the phone company's trying to charge me to call in. So I don't know if y'all experienced that, but yeah, we got it straightened out. So I'm glad I'm here, brothers. Glad I'm here. Everybody probably knows who I am, so I've been around Blog Talk a minute.
Oh, yeah. Michael Edwards is in the building. We appreciate you. And, of course, what you been up to lately before we ask you some questions in regards to the RBG Hebrews? What you been up to?
Man. Well, I've been up to really the same thing since the last show, man. I do work with children every single month. It's a singing group, and it's a group where I teach children music and arts, and even vocals and whatnot. So I'm doing that, and we got a good summer blowout coming up in Temecula, California. And definitely I've been working on teaching my brothers, not just the older brothers at my age, but younger brothers in the Hebrew Israelite culture here in America, in North America, teaching them how to identify more so with our ancient eclectic culture that includes Israelites, not as the whole of our identity. Truly, the story of our past is an eclectic story. It is a blended story. It's an amalgamated story. And so I try to teach that to my people so that we can have more of a balanced truth when we teach, and we'll have more of a historical balance and a grip on history when we teach in our evangelism. I think that's very important for the perception of us from the people to us, that we are seen as competent people, not simply separatists, but we're competent, educated, well-schooled, and well-trained, and we love our people. So that those two things really is my main goal in my teaching. I do a lot of YouTube stuff. I do a lot of chastising. I do a lot of teaching and everything on my YouTube channels, RBG Hebrew too. So that's just who I am. That's what I've been doing, man. Just serving the people in whatever way I can and trying to stay blessed, brother.
All right, just to let you know, we have three gentlemen asking questions tonight. We have Brother B.A. He's the host of the Man Up segment on Debate Talk. We also have Anonymous Hebrew, who's the co-host of that same segment, Man Up. And we also have Moray Yifdock here, and they're all going to ask you questions one at a time. So, Brother B.A., you're going to ask some questions. Go ahead, you can start.
Yo, what's the word, Brother Edwards? It's been a minute. How you been, Art?
Hey, man, how you doing, brother? You know what? I know your name. I've never seen your face. I know you from the Google Hangout, right?
Yeah. I'm out here in Sacramento.
Okay, good. Yeah, I've heard you say that before. Yes, I remember who you are, brother. Shalom to you.
Yo, shalom, Art. Earlier, Brother James, he had mentioned this, that a political party is something that could be an idea. Have you guys already decided to come to those terms? Is that in the process of moving forward, or what is your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very good question. I talked to Brother James Smalls about this 2 years ago, and I put the video on my channel. I talked to the brother about whether a political party is even feasible, and I think for the masses of black people across the United States, I don't think it's the time yet for that. But within the house of Israel and our brothers and sisters, I think that we have a better shot at completing it, not just starting it and letting it fester and fall off, but I think we have a better shot than anybody else in the community, in the black community, because we have a base of brothers that have a network, And so that those simple things are very important to starting a political party. Us knowing who we are, us having communication between us and brotherhood, so that when you start your party, you'll be able to trust those that are working beside you and signing papers and speaking for you. And so I think a political party for us, Israelites, would be great in the sense that our political party helps us to meld into local governments and local application of law. If we're looking for a political party that's going to deal with Democrat and Republican and Independent and other, I think that's a wasteful undertaking. But I think if we're making a political party and shooting for those goals that can be met point by point and day by day with our people, fight the battles that can be won, I think that's where we should start. And so I think, we should start a political party, and that can be done, but it has to be done at a very, very, very grassroots level so that everybody in the political party can know the gravity of what we're doing and be on the same page. So, yes, I think it's a great idea, brother, and I think we can do that.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate your answer. When it comes to the RBG Hebrew movement, as we can see overall as in the Israelite community, there are some pros and cons, and there are some things that we're improving on, and there are some things that we do still need improvement. How can the RBG Hebrew perspective help those things we are lacking in when it comes to economics, doctrine, etc.?
Beautiful. Man, you got some great questions. The RBG Hebrew movement, like I said before, I see it as an umbrella that covers more than one particular school of thought and one community. And I think the first element of the benefit of the RBG movement is unity, bringing us together, because there is no steps that can be made as a group without numbers. And so, again, we, RBG Hebrews, most of the brothers that I know, pride themselves on reaching out across community lines, across religious lines, and, unifying in solidarity where we can meet. You know what I'm saying? We have principles that we can't just trample as us brothers, as Israelites, but there are certain places where we can meet and operate like the governments of the world to the degree that it's productive, you see, because China and the United States have always been literal enemies, but when they sit down at the table, they don't carry that to the table. And our RBG collective black story, bringing in and using and dealing with other brothers, I think that will push us quicker. And there was something you said at the last part of your question. Can you give me the last part of it again? Because it was something you said there I wanted to address. The very last B section of your question.
Yeah, actually, BA called this drop. It's called this drop.
No.
When you call it, yeah, BA, call back in, brother. Call back in, and we'll bring you back in. But Anonymous Hebrew, I guess you can take over until BA gets back. That Anonymous.
Yeah, shalom, brother Edwards. How you doing?
Shalom, man. How you doing? Anonymous Hebrew, that's your name?
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, that's what I go by. But
yeah, that's very good.
My Hebrew name. Good to meet you.
What is it, brother?
My Hebrew name is Sadiq Ben Israel. So I ain't want to just say you. Yes, sure. Yes.
Indeed, brother Sadiq. I got you, man. I appreciate you, and I respect you for whatever you call yourself. Yeah.
Appreciate you. I just wanted to kind of, I guess, pick up a little bit where Brother BA left off. So, and Brother CASSELL was talking about it some in terms of trying to unify everything, and even the Moray had touched on it some. When you end up in some of these conversations, you're dealing with people who have been in these communities for 20 to 30 years. And it does seem to be a lot of pushback about trying to unify for whatever reason. If you're new to this movement, you're new, you've done a lot of study, you're ready to go, however the situation works. What is the best way to go about trying to get involved in the grassroots movement, and maybe if you have to, bypassing some of the elders without being disrespectful? Like, how do you suggest people go about doing this in terms of trying to unify the movement and kind of passing up those that aren't really about unity?
Mm-hmm. Well, another good question, man. I think that the elders, our elders, whether they be, Israelite elders or just our elders in our family, I think that's a very core element to building any undertaking that leads to nationhood. And so I see, like, the elders in our Israelite community, and I all the time I refer to Nasi Father because I respect Principal in a great way. You know what I mean? And just to see that brother has kept his flock together, and there's young people coming through all the time, and they always productive. You know what I mean? I see Principal and us having our elders with us. I see that as like one of the main things, other than unifying and reaching out to other people, because even when we get to the point when we're dealing with people with problems and people don't want to be productive or people don't want to unify, I think our elders see a whole different perspective on how we can unify, how we can come to the table together, So the elders, I think, have to stay, have to be vocal in our movement, and it's just that way even in the scriptures, We are to always honor our elders and seek them for wisdom and counsel, you know what I mean? And so I think that'll be one brick that we can lay that would definitely stay, because we got some great elders. We got some great elders in the Israelite community. But a lot of people don't like to submit to that at all, And that could be a problem. But, again, if you have elders, you have a certain level of control and a certain level of respectability. Yeah, so I agree. I see that as one of those elders. Indeed.
I appreciate that. I think that's a great answer. So then just to kind of land back to follow up off of that, then if we move forward as a community, right? And I think Brother CASSELL, he had some good explanations of this. For you, what does the RBG movement bring? Like, what does it look like for the future from the RBG perspective?
Oh, y'all must have wrote these questions down a week ago. These some good questions.
Honestly, we just freestyling. It's just we really care about the community.
Intelligent brother,
and
man.
I think this is some stuff. Wait till you deal with the Moray. The Moray got some good ones too. So
yeah, hit me with that one more time. It's such a good question. I gotta make sure.
Patiently waiting.
I missed BA's end of that one, so I don't want to drop it on this one. Give me that one more time.
Just to be real brief, like, what does the future look like from the RBG perspective? Like, what does it look like going forward from the RBG perspective?
Okay. I think our future from RBG Hebrew perspective is and should be and really will be more so the reinvigoration of a group like the UNIA. We already have the pattern. You see, we have a skeleton sitting in our closet that, the people took away Marcus Garvey to kick him out the country, and the UNIA ended up being what it festered into. But we still have the pattern, the blueprint. And the UNIA, again, was made up of Catholic Marcus Garvey, Abyssinians, Moors, and everything else you could think of, even some Turkish folk and some white people sprinkled in throughout, So I think our movement looks like the UNIA, meaning all-inclusive, not just separatist Israelites building a political party, but us being the leaders, like the scriptures command us, to be priests and light to the nations. Once they see us moving in that vein and we're able to just embrace them in love and still teach, I think our thing will be real big. And that's the actual goal, to not just minister to our people, but to actually find the lost, like the scripture says, and bring them in and not kill them, to help them. And the UNIA was a great pattern.
That's a great answer, brother. I'm gonna fall back for a second. I'm gonna let the Moray get to him because he is the elder, and I do want to be respectful. Go ahead, Moray.
Indeed. Let me greet Moray. Moray, is that Moray Yeshaya? Which one?
Moray Yiftach. Moray Yiftach Ben Dan.
Okay. Okay, brother. I got you. Shalom to you. And greetings to James, Brother James. Brother Yaakov.
Okay, shalom, Brother James. Peace and blessings unto you. Glad you can get on. Okay, I got a couple of questions for you. So the first one I want to ask is, are you're familiar with the rapper Kanye West and his current statements and the news which he made on TMZ concerning slavery being a choice after 400 years? Are you familiar?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Okay. In reference to that, to us as a people, do you let me see how I'm trying to put this in a way. Do you feel that comments like that are divisive to a movement like that RBG is creating? And do you feel that statements like that are conducive to us unifying as a people?
Beautiful. Another beautiful question. I think the statements like that must be dealt with and put on the table in a time such as this, when we have such a great awakening all across the United States of young brothers, young sisters, older brothers being awakened, older sisters being awakened. I think that we ought to be able to have that conversation and not take a million people and crucify Kanye for saying something that's really a truth in today. I have to direct you to, and after the show, nobody, please don't leave us on the line and go. RBG Hebrew 2 and RBG Hebrew 4 on YouTube. I've been teaching about this for the last 2 days. And I taught that Kanye West is literally a microcosm of Black America. Black America is the macrocosm, and Kanye is literally the walking embodiment of all of our ills across every community line, you know, in every single way. And in that truth, that way, Kanye was actually, in my opinion, brother, and I believe the Spirit is speaking through not Kanye, but the whole issue, that we all need to take a look at the choices that we make. Because I was teaching today to brother Daz Dillinger. I don't want to get long-winded, but Daz is a rapper, a West Coast rapper. And this brother joined the attack, right? And everybody piled on Kanye, and now this brother here is doing the more sick thing. Other than marrying a white woman, other than actually embracing Donald Trump, which would be Nebuchadnezzar in today's time. Other than that, this brother here got on camera and tried to get the young brothers that are Crips to aggress this man, kill him, beat him up, do whatever to him. And so when we're looking at that, we can look at the truth in what Kanye said. Whether Kanye is off his rocker or not, even crazy people and mentally ill people say truths. If they got to go to the bathroom, they really do got to go. And I don't think it was a divisive comment of Kanye. I think it was just an untactful series of words that he said and didn't really know what he was saying. But the truth is that we make terrible. I'm sorry. Let me close it and now I'll get right on.
No, go.
I think we make terrible decisions, and then we blame even our blessings. Like somebody come give you a nice bed, we get in the bed, fall asleep, wake up too late for work, and then we get fired, and we come home and blame the bed. See, we blame the bed, we blame the person that blessed us with it, instead of us taking accountability for the amount of prostitutes in our community, the amount of aborted children every day, hundreds in America, still today, the amount of gangbangers and the dope and all of the pornography in every wretched way that is against God and against resurrection of the black man. When we can't address it and say, yep, you know what, we got a problem, then we literally become what Kanye was talking about and what Kanye is. So I think it's a good question. Kanye put it out there, a good statement rather, just was said in a bad way, and I don't think he had the wherewithal to teach against his comeback. You know, and like I said, man, I want y'all really to check those videos out, because I touched on a lot of things in these 3 videos concerning that our people just really need to hear. Let me give you one, and then I'll shut up and let you hit it again. But I said the question of the century: why are we still here in America? Not just as Israelites, but as people. Well, we know, pursuant to prophecy in Deuteronomy 28, the blessings and the curses, we know why we're here. But why are we still here as a collective people? And in that sense, for over 200 and some years, we have made a choice to be the people that were under the curses and remain there and remain married to that which oppressed us. And we even invest in that which oppresses us. And in that sense, we make ourselves mental free slaves. We're free, but we're still slaves by our own mind and desires. We love Walmart and Foot Locker. You dig it? Can't get away from Walmart. But why? Why? Nobody would stay on a job where they beat you, and then you get up from the beating and you go to the time clock and somebody cuts your hand off, and then you run, try to get a napkin, and somebody pushes you in the bathroom and beats you up again. Nobody would put themselves through that except for us. And that's why we haven't gotten reparations, and that's why the spirit of prophecy has not alleviated our condition, because part of our condition is self-inflicted. I don't know if I went too
Moray,
far or said too much.
No, you did good.
You good,
Moray,
bro?
can I just ask a quick? Can I ask a quick follow up to that, Moray, please?
Sure. I'll get in after you. Go ahead, my brother.
All right, I'll just ask one quick one. All right, so this is to either Brother Edwards and Brother CASSELL, because now we're touching on something else that I think pops up in the curses that we kind of we overlooked, and that's the being stricken with madness part. Right?
Yeah.
How much of this what I consider post-traumatic slave disorder or post-traumatic stress disorder, how much of this hinges on that? How much of what's going on in our community hinges on that, thus being the need for us to really focus as intelligent men, men of color, saying if there is something wrong, you need to go get some help. Don't be afraid to go talk to someone. How much of this hinges on that? And is that part of the RBG movement in saying, don't be afraid to go talk to somebody and get rid of these mental issues, because it's just a stigma. It's just like having a cold. You can go get it fixed. How much of that?
I think it's all up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, let me cut in this one real quick, and you can come right after me, Mike.
No, go ahead, brother. Hit it.
I think that this is something that a lot of people should look into, something called epigenetics, right? And one of the things
I teach on that, by the way. Yeah.
Okay,
awesome.
That's great.
That's
great. You perfectly understand.
Yeah, epigenetics is something that I'm studying myself. As Brother BA speaking, most definitely.
Oh, that's great. And we all could be on one accord. And like the experiment they did, like with the rat. You know how
with the
they
rat.
get terrified of something, and it passes down to their descendants to naturally be afraid of that thing. Yep. And I think that something that we were taught to be afraid of is success. Because think about it, in slave times, if that young boy stood out too much, he would become a stud, he would become sold or something like that for high dollar. And mama didn't want her son sold off, so she would teach her son not to stand out. And it becomes something that's passed on generation to generation. And that's why I brought up earlier is that a lot of us lack the faith that it takes to overcome that. It takes a lot of faith in something more than yourself to overcome that. You got to believe in the word that the Most High gave, that through the blood of Christ we can overcome all this. All of our bonds, we're free from them. But we got to believe that, and that takes a lot of faith. And that's why I say that's something that, though we do our best to walk out the word of God, in that area I think we fail, because we see it in that we do not have enough businesses started by young men willing to jump out there, stand forth, and shine in what they know they can do. And that's another thing that programs our minds that we're not worth anything. Why? Because we're not doing what we know we should do. But that comes back to us being programmed not to stand out and shine like that. We only can stand out and shine when we're doing what Master wants you to do. He wants you to jump out there, glorify, going to the store and just buying everything. Don't save nothing. Don't hand it down to your children. No, get out there and rap about the new cars, the new jewelry, and all that that's out there. So we're going to get all the black folks out there spending all their money on that, spending trillions of dollars on that, instead of setting up their community like everybody else around them is, and let everybody else come in and poach off of them. And what it teaches us, we ain't nothing, which reinforces the ideas. I mean, like I said, it's going to take faith to overcome it. But go ahead, Mike.
Okay, shoot, man. I think that's beautiful. And I think that mental illness is a part, when we look at the scripture where it says, in the morning you'd wish that it was evening, and in the evening you'd wish that it was morning. That's a generation of people given to a sickness that's a literal psychosis. And a lot of them accept that, and they rock in that to the point of apathy and rejection, because we teach that all the time. We've been teaching Deuteronomy 28 and what our generation is undergoing, mental illnesses that are even described in Deuteronomy 28. But watch this. Some of our mental illnesses are self-inflicted, back to this Kanye thing, Stockholm Syndrome. which is a great confession of our people. A lot of our people take that. But I tell people all the time, Stockholm Syndrome is not a diagnosis. Stockholm Syndrome is you humbling yourself to insanity, saying, okay, I love that which doesn't love me. Stockholm Syndrome was named in Stockholm, Sweden, after a bank robbery. People in the bank robbery, they loved the bank robbers. They humanized them. And so we took the name, but the condition goes back to where the spirit of prophecy laid that in the air, and today it's falling flat on our people. Straight up insanity and mental illness. Some of it comes naturally through sin and our ridiculous brothers that will reject what they see. And then a lot of it is coming because people refuse to speak life, you know, and mental illness, even in a political party, is something that I think is noteworthy of us putting a check by the box and saying we need to find some people that can deal with our people mentally, because your mind is equivalent to your spirit, not necessarily your souls per se. As pursuant to what we believe in our Hebrew culture, your mind harbors all of that trash, and that trash in the way of curses and that way of personal confession that you're crazy is a lot of our people's problem. You know, mental illness, we need doctors and preachers combined to walk and mirror Christ. Being a doctor and a man of spirit, that's something I don't think our people got right now. And they don't have the wherewithal to see nor submit to. Not all of our people, not Israelites, but the brothers that we teach all the time, and they say, we don't want to hear that. Oh, Deuteronomy 28 was talking about the white Jew, the Ashkenazi, or the Sephardim. But no, look at the scripture. Look at our people. It's an exact match. I mean, a tailored fit, and we got to go with that even when our people reject us, telling them they're crazy. You know, we got to provide some help. And I don't know any mental doctors in Israel. Do y'all know any? If we do, I think we need to start pumping them brothers and sisters so that they can become
It's anonymous Hebrew. It's anonymous Hebrew, and I'm working on it. I'm getting ready to. I'm in the process of doing the master's program, and then I'll be going right into the doctorate program because the epigenetics thing that brother CASSELL just brought out, and I'll throw this part out there, and then let Moray come back in. If you study epigenetics, one of the things that you find out is that within 3 or 4 generations, you can remove that stuff out of you.
That's right.
That reminds you about something. That should remind you about something, right? Right. So if you understand what's really going on genetically, this Torah, if you understand how to properly get into the law, it doesn't change your epigenome, but what it does is it changes your gene expression, right? And so if we have these type of teachings and this type of understanding in our communities, we will understand what Torah does because it changes the belief, and then the belief changes the habits, that influences the character, and that's how you start to manage your gene expression. This is how you get rid of cancer, diabetes, high cholesterol, mental illness, all of these things, you know. So go ahead, Moray. I love that brother brought that out.
No, but that's off the chain.
Yep, powerful.
Man.
Okay, shalom again.
Shalom, brother.
All great comments. You guys got me thinking. Just one thing I just want us to think about, and that's not something to maybe address now, but later on in the show, is concerning, the children of Israel when they left out of Egypt, and, Moses performed the 10 Commandments through the hand of the Most High God, and he split the Red Sea, and he had the children of Israel go through, and, the host of the Egyptians died in the Red Sea. Those people who went into the wilderness, they wanted to go back to Egypt. They were headed to freedom, but they wanted to go back to Egypt. And because obviously there was a psychological effect going on there, but God still held them accountable for not trusting in Him. So I wanted to bring that part out. That's something for a little bit later. But Brother James, I heard you speak about unification. And I'm just going to let you know this is another one of those tough questions. So if we're to unify, and we spoke about, I believe it was the UNIAF, things of that nature, are you of the opinion that everybody should come back? And when I say everybody, I'm talking about black people, white people, Chinese people, or let me not just put Chinese, Asian people, Indian people, or, and I shouldn't have said white, I should have said European, or is this, and that understanding what RBG stands for, if not, are we also talking about bringing people along regardless if they're gay, lesbian, transgender, so on and so forth? Could you please give us your thoughts on that and what the unification is that you're talking about as RBG as a movement?
Okay. Well, that is a great question as always, Moray. And I would say, I mean, like I said, it starts with us right here. And even with it starting with just us right here in America, us who went through this diaspora here in America, it really only starts with us that's ready to work, because, I mean, a lot of people are talking, as y'all brought up earlier, but it's going to start with us that's ready to work. And, I mean, that's even if it starts with one or two people. But, I mean, as far as other nations is concerned, how can any self-respecting man, worry about another house before he worry about his own house, And I think that we all see ourselves as men and that we want to take care of Israel first. The people that's here, right here in America, that went through this tragedy that we went through, this slavery, this transatlantic slave trade prophesied by the Most High, that's who we're going to concentrate and focus on. And when we get to the place where we need to be and shine and bright as a beacon like we supposed to, everybody else just going to fall in line. So that's who we need to focus on. And then what was the second part of that?
Are we – so I got another follow-up. But the second part was, is that also – I heard you talk about another house. So I get it. We got to take care of home first. And you're talking about our people instead of worrying about other people first. Let's make sure we take care of our own first and understand that we're on the same page. But within our own and within our own house, how do you feel about the gays and the lesbians, transgenders, even those who are prisoners, unfortunately, the rapists, those who could have, let me not say the rapists, those who could or could not have been wrongfully incarcerated. Do you feel all of them should come along also?
Well, when we're talking about inheriting the kingdom of heaven, we know what the scriptures say about that. And effeminate can't even get in. So I don't think any gays or lesbians get in. But when it comes to, trying to guide those of our brothers and sisters into repenting of that and coming along with the Most High, if they're willing to do that, then of course, we're supposed to reach out. We're supposed to help them. We're supposed to show them the errors of their ways and when correct. Now, if they want to be reprobate with their actions, then I got to separate myself from them because we can't have sinners in the camp. We just can't, or the Most High ain't going to be there guiding our footsteps. So I'm not supposed to jeopardize my nation over people who don't want to fall in line with the God of our forefathers because, like I said, it's just not going to work. So I think that takes care of that.
Okay. I got one more for you. How does RBG identify the enemy, and how how is it taught to identify that enemy?
You know, I don't even think that this is a hard one, but I do think it's fair to say that there's a spectrum on this, and it's not like it's just one view of how to do it. But I mean, there's no way not to identify who the enemy is. You know what I mean? We know who put us through 400 years of slavery. You know, mental, physical bondage. You know, still has us in it to this day. That every time we try to make a political movement to unify, there's some type of government interference. I mean, everybody that had a hand in what happened to us being sent over here into this, all of those people are our enemies. But we can't even act like we don't see the one right here, you know, the one that's done everything to us. So with knowing who that enemy is, right now, our best thing to do is to get into a preventative measures position, which would be, again, going back to the propaganda about ourselves as a people. We need to have money being pushed and influenced in the propaganda like the TV shows that's coming out. We need some good upstanding TV shows like we used to have back in the day, you know, before, you know, this scandal, like with the scandal that's going on with Bill Cosby. Before all that went down, he was a pillar of our community of what a father should be. We need shows like that with righteous brothers standing up and being good examples. So a lot of that's going to come into play. But as an RBG, like I said, we can't ignore the person who kills us every day and shoots us down in the streets every day. But we also can't ignore the enemy that I hold even more evil than that, and that's our brethren who kill our own brothers every day in these streets. That is the enemy that I think that we need to spend a lot of time focusing on as well, because of, like what the brother said earlier, there's psychosis within our community. These brothers need serious psychiatric help. I mean, if a lot of brothers want to do something to help our community, they need to do as the brother said he's doing. He's going to school to get a degree in something that is going to help our kids because they need it. But like I said, man, we know who the enemy is, and we need to get our protective measures up and ready to go against it.
Okay, this is Anonymous Hebrew again. I just had a quick question because it lines up with what you just brought out. And this is something that Brother B.A. and I have been dealing with a lot lately. Because I know your brother said you want to unify the community, and that's even along separate doctrinal lines. And this is a big elephant that's always in the room, and I think we got to address it since we have you brothers here. One of the biggest divides in our community is the book, right? The New Testament versus the Old Testament, or the Berith Hadazah versus the Tanakh. And what we see is a lot of name-calling and slander on both sides, right? One person saying you're going to go to the lake of fire for this. The other person saying you're going to go to the lake of fire for that. How do we deal with that and still build a community when our community itself, and these are our strongest people, right? Our strongest teachers are some of our Tanakh only brothers. Some of our strongest teachers are our Berith Hadazah brothers. Like, how do we heal that divide? Like, what do we do? What does that look like? Because this turns into almost gang banging, like, and so how do you deal with that?
You want me to go take it, or James, you want to start first?
Oh, you got it, Mike. You can go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think this one is a good, very good question again, and this is one that I have had a lot of experience with. You know, when we started with the Hebrew War Machine. You notice most of those brothers that were in the forefront dealing with that, most of those were Torah Israelites, Tanakh Israelites. But the thing that I learned from them right? Because normally New Testament Israelites would like to say, well, what we're doing is superior, and we want to bring y'all into our way. But what I learned from the brothers that embraced me, Brother Nasi Yashavel, Brother Zion Lex, and nobody, please don't ever think I have a problem with Zion because we bump heads at some points on things. Because I love those brothers. I love them and respect them. And here's what they taught me. They taught me acceptance. They taught me to see the best in a person and what they bring to the table. When those brothers sought me out to come and lend what I had to the research and the War Machine, speaking on the radio show, all those brothers, they sent shots out to me and told me, man, you're great with church history, and you're good with this and that and this and that, and we need you here. Come here. And, man, I would have not went had it been any other way. You know, by me knowing those brothers necessarily at the end of the day don't really believe the end point that I believe, still, the spirit of love overrode all of that for me. And even me and the brothers bumped heads and we parted ways for a time. But I'm sitting here later, 3 years later, saying I learned acceptance and love from those brothers that are not New Testament. The New Testament teaches us the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, kindness, meekness. And how many of us are willing to put our guns up, to love and reach out to our brother? Because I try to pattern my teaching and evangelism after Paul. Paul had a way to minister to everybody. You know, if you wasn't a New Testament Christian, or a New Testament believer in Christ as they were, he'd take you to the Torah and show you Christ in the book of Zechariah. He'd show you Christ in the first line of the Torah, you see, and meet those people where they can, even theoretically, morally, and literally. And I think all of us would do great if we could, kind of see the greatness in each other and let God skin the fish and get them in the boat. You know what I'm saying? Our job is to be fishermen of men and even find the lost. Our job is not to save anybody. Our job is not to change the mind of the people. That work is for the Kodesh Spirit. And learning that will actually mature us because we'll be able to apply that not only inside the house, but to our other brothers. And I'm telling you, those brothers, Nasi and Zion and Ron and all of them cats, they marked me with something that I would never, ever, ever forget. Brothers that accept you no matter what the difference, as long as you're not, what Brother James said, a reprobate. You see, and the spirit of discernment, and our priests having the spirit of discernment is the only way that can be done in a competent way. Learning and loving and learning when not to pet demons and learning when to accept people when they're trying. You know what I mean? So I just think it's a middle ground that I think both sides should learn and trade and share and give a good things to each other based upon what we need from each other. We all need each other. You know what I mean? Nasi, I keep on saying Nasi because that brother imparted a lot into me while we were dealing with each other closely. And I'm a New Testament Israelite. People used to tell me that all the time. How in the heck are you walking with Nasi? They try to paint Nasi up like he's Lucifer. But he's not. He just thinks and sees things different than you. And both, truly, this is the last statement, New Testament and Old Testament Israelites, or Torah only, we all have a common root, which is the Torah. Everything in the Torah should be applied to Tanakh and even New Testament. None of it should fight. And if it's fighting, I suggest it's a pride issue and a personal issue and an education issue, not a scriptural issue. So that's us, you know what I mean? So just loving and accepting us and bringing each other along, being patient. Even with the homosexuals. I know I get long-winded, but I was teaching about Sodom and Gomorrah and teaching about the fallacy of Sodom and Gomorrah, how not only our people judge each other, Israelites, but how we judge other people when the scripture says that we all have sinned, all have, that is a definite and it is a present. You see, when we deal with the homosexuals, we should deal with them based upon whether they are reprobate, which means an unprincipled person, or the Christian theoretic, a person that God has thrown away. You know what I mean? A person that has refused to come to life and come to light. Those are the only people that we should be turning away. If they're homosexuals that want to be Israelites or claim to be Israelites, because you can't be a homosexual Israelite. That means you're unrepentant. And those people in the Bible are called Gentiles. So when we see the Gentiles, just as Shaul and all the New Testament apostles, they went abroad and they did the main purpose of evangelism that Christ said to the lost, right? Those homosexuals are lost. But many of them want to be found, and many of them want to change, and many of them hate themselves for what they've done and become accustomed to. And so we have to minister to them. In Sodom, I'm going to say something controversial, I'm going to shut up. The word sodomy, some of y'all have heard me say this. Sodomy is literally, by definition, oral or anal copulation. Now, all of us know sodomites from being, we call them faggots and homos and gays and all of that. But is that what the scripture was conveying when it was teaching us the sin of Sodom? No, it was not honing in only on homosexuals, although they were a problem. Sodomy is sexual perversion, no matter if you're male, woman, gay, or straight, you see. Right. And that's the point of spirit. That's how spirit comes in, and it not only deals with priests, but it deals with the people, you see, because when we all recognize that the Bible is right and somebody's wrong, God, through his prophet, says we all have sin. And if we say we have no sin, then we make it God a lie, and the truth is not in us. And in another place, that we are of our father, the devil. You see, so that balance of spirit, having spirit use you and not our pride, and then actually have the spirit of discernment to know who's reprobate and who needs to be found as if they're lost. I'm sorry, man, I talk forever, and I know it. My lady tell me that. So y'all, forgive me. If I talk too long, just sigh loud. Just, do that.
It's all good. Brother, just want to ask a question. No, is there somebody trying to speak?
Oh, yeah,
no.
I'm just going to go and give a little quick response to the question that you asked. It was just that, pretty much I'll use this. I'm paraphrasing right now. In the scriptures, when the disciples seen other people casting out demons and stuff, and they went to Christ. Hey, he over there casting out demons. What Christ tell them? Hey, if they not against us, they for us, right?
That's right.
And it's important to know what's the mission at hand right now. The mission at hand is unifying our people in order to come together and become a force to protect our people. And that requires economic means, political means, and other means. So if that's the mission at hand, if he's not against us, then what am I tripping for? Mm-hmm. And that's just what I got to say. I mean, like I said earlier, we're going to have those debates. They're still going to exist. There's no way to put them down or away. But we just got to understand at the time what's the mission at hand. Let's take care of the mission at hand, and we'll take care of that when the time's right to take care of that.
Right.
I agree. I most definitely agree. But this is BA again. I want to ask a quick question. It's common in the Hebrew movement overall that a lot of us proclaim to be Hebrews and we try to keep the Torah to the best of our ability, but for some reason we still have the mindset of the imperialists. We are, in other words, the Greco-Roman perspective. And one thing that is common amongst Israelites, not all, but which tends to be common from people on the outside looking in, there's a hatred for women. The RBG movement. What do you guys subscribe to when it comes to our sisters? Because these are human beings. And for some reason, no matter how long I've been in this movement, various brothers, and it seems like it's a majority of brothers, they have a deep hatred for the sisters. Now, do the RBG brothers, do you guys support the women? What is your stance when it comes to our Israelite sisters or women? Period, because there's a homosexual spirit going on in Israel, and it's sickening. It's making me sick to my stomach. But I'm gonna fall back.
Man, I got chill bumps listening to you say that, because I feel the same way, brother. I feel that when we read our story, our great story as Israelites, if we look over the fact that Deborah was a judge, you dig? How can we put our women in the back seat and not allow them to be used of God? A woman has the propensity to be emotional, but God does not. God's spirit can reside in a woman and man, because as the Hebrew language relates, that we are Adam, not necessarily only Eve or Hawa and Adam, the man name. You see, I think that we are not the image of God until we reflect that which God created. Man and woman equal and in their place as God set the standard. When we look at Isaiah, the scripture, the Bible says the particular Isaiah that all of these Christian theoretics say was that Isaiah. He had a wife, and she was called a prophetess. Isaiah was never sexist toward his wife. Isaiah was never a suppressing agent of the spirit, nor was Adam. Dang, somebody pulling up right next to me with all this loud music. But just to cap it up, the homosexual spirit is the hatred of women. That is the actual spirit of the Antichrist. Everything anti-Mashiach. And no matter what the name is that we ascribe to Christ across community lines, anti-truth, anti-righteousness. And that homosexual spirit is invading us through the attack that is social evolution and engineering. We've learned how to hate our women, hate them so goddamn bad. I talked to the brother General Yohana. I love the ISUPK. I respect General Yohana. But this was 4 years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, on Blog Talk Radio. We had a debate going back and forth over a question of whether women should be able to minister, whether women should be able to come out and let God use them the way he sees fit and not we see fit. And this brother, I felt the brother lowered himself in that particular day by defaming Deborah. I said Deborah, and the scripture says she was a righteous judge. She was a judge over Israel. What's the difference between a righteous woman in 2018 for our brothers? There shouldn't be. And I think our brothers are really, really, really handicapping themselves when we won't use the women. We saying that, whoa, the women are only for us. No, that's a lie, man. She's not only the mother of the world and all living, but she is actually a balancing agent that can help you out in your ministry. Some of us brothers are too darn hard on the corners, too hard in the synagogues, too hard everywhere, when we can learn how to love our brothers, not homosexually, but we can learn how to love them gently from our women. And that can teach us how to love without opening your legs or your anal parts for all of the homosexual tendency brothers. We don't have to love in a perverted way. We can love and respect our brothers and actually use our sisters and for what they are here for, a guide, and even help us when we're men in our older days. So the gay spirit, I'm totally against it in Israel. The female bashing, I'm against it. The woman hiding, taking them and throwing them back and make them cook and something and feed the brothers out at the camp. I'm against all of that because I grew up with a mother that's an evangelist and missionary for 45 years, my mom. And my father was a pastor. My father died, and my mother kept on the work. So I have all the utmost respect in the world for our women, and I think that if we're not using them and verbally respecting them and allowing them to go for, then I think that is a sin, and it is on par with homosexuality, because anything anti-God is anti-God. If you're against the spirit on a woman or in a woman, you are against God, and that's just the righteous truth. So I think we need to bring our women on out, maybe not on the camps and on the street corners, but we ought to stop suppressing them vocally, verbally.
Well, I got to say, I'm in complete agreement with the brother there. I mean, like he brought up Deborah. Even when you look in the scriptures, you seen that a daughter of Ephraim, she built cities and everything. I mean,
that's right. That's right.
Look in the book of I think it's the book of Judith in the Apocrypha. All the dudes were scared to go to war. It was a woman that went and snuck into the general chambers, took a sword, cut his head off, and brought it outside and yelled for war. I mean,
Brother James, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, man. You
go ahead. I like
too hard. You hitting it right on point, because Deborah had the same issue. Those brothers didn't want to go to battle unless Deborah went. You can read it in the story. You see? Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry, man. You hit it right on point.
Like I said, we feed back and forth off this one. Like you said, they the great equalizer in all aspects of life. Like, you're not even a man without your woman, you know? And the way you treat her reflects really how you feel about yourself at the end of the day. It really do. Like, if you're dominating on her, that's because that's how you really is with yourself. You're too hard on yourself. That's why you can't grow. And that's why eventually you're going to end up losing what you hold close, one way or another.
Wow.
So, I mean, brothers need to really think about how women have always been used and the pedestal that we put them on. The scriptures say we ain't even let our women's feet touch the ground, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, but we got to remember, like, and it goes back to what the brother said earlier, man, the psychosis. We have been taught and trained to hate our women. Our women have been trained to hate us. They have been put in conditions where, think about it, a lot of these sons that grow up with single mothers, and when that mother, every time she looks at that son, she's looking at the man who disappeared and left her all by herself, struggling with that young man. And he has to grow up dealing with that. And when he grow up, now he looking at every woman like she may talk to him crazy or take some anger out on him. And so now he hates her. And then the way women our women especially are objectified, the only way they seen as to be, you know, down or something is she's stripping. You know, she walking around half naked. And the only one men want to run behind. You know, and women, you know, women gonna do what it takes to get them a man. They geared to get them one. But like I said, we're gonna have to stand up strong, be strong men, teach young men, even that aren't connected to us in any blood way. Well, I guess it's impossible not to be blood, but you know what I'm saying, in any like direct family way. But teach those young men, hey, look, this the type of woman you looking for. This the type of woman you want to bring into our community if you're going to get a wife. And the same thing with women teaching the young women. These women do need to be put up on the forefront. I think Maccabees TV is doing a beautiful job with their ladies thing. They're bringing women out, putting them in the forefront, letting them teach. Why? Because these young sisters need to see that. They need to, just like young brothers need to see leaders like ourselves. Young women need to see that, because that's their job, to teach the young sisters to be good, righteous women, because these are the type of women we want our sons to marry. We don't want them bringing them crazy worldly girls in there that's going to be tearing up his household. We want them to be good, righteous girls, taught by women who have taken the time to learn how to be good, righteous women. So we got to bring them out.
I think that was incredible. This anonymous Hebrew, I thank the brothers for their words for that, because what we see is, like you said, a psychosis situation. I think we also need to remember we wouldn't have our nation if it wasn't for our women. If it wasn't
That's
if
right.
it wasn't for Mother Rebecca being shrewd in how she handled things, Yaakov would have never got that birthright. So we tend to shy away from these things because, once again, the psychosis of it is we have lost so much as men that now we are fighting so hard to hold on to something that doesn't really exist. Like this notion of being so in control that you just have to hold everything and rule with an iron fist. You're disillusioned because control is an illusion in itself. Right? The only thing you can control is yourself. And as men, as the leaders in this, if we call ourselves leaders, we should allow the wisdom and the power and the strength of our women to show, because that is what a wiser nation does. I don't want to ramble on because we got a caller, but I love what the brothers brought out because it is essential going forward. BA says this all the time, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. I don't want to be part of no nation that don't want to deal with no women. I don't even want to know what that looks like.
Okay.
No, I don't even know what that looks like. BA bring that out. BA bring that all the time, and it is such a wonderful point. I can't speak for everybody else, but I just don't want to be a part of that nation. So let's go ahead and get the caller, and I thank the brothers for their statements. So,
my pleasure, man. All right, let's get to this first caller. Let's go to 443-815. You're live.
Yeah, hey, brother. This is a very good discussion. What I wanted to talk about, this is Brother Mercy. What I wanted to mention is that I really don't have no sympathy for Bill Cosby because I remember back in 2004, you need to Google this speech he gave where he said, he told black men, stop beating up your women. You've got to stop beating up your women because you can't find a job, because you didn't want to get an education. Now you're earning minimum wage. You should have thought more of yourself when you were in high school when you had an opportunity. See, he's just reaping what he sowed. Because, see, what he tried to say during that speech is that everybody that's having a hard time is because they beating their women and they didn't pay attention in school. That's not everybody's story. I get it. There's some that did that, but that's not everybody's story. And what he's witnessing now is he thought he was above the rest of us. Now he's got to deal with that same justice system that we deal with every single day. But he thought he could pay his way out of it, and he did for many, many years. Now the statute, what the white folk did is the statute of limitations that almost ran out on his charges. But like right before the statute of limitations ran out, that district attorney went and brought back all them charges. Because he thought when he paid that woman them millions of dollars, he thought it was over. But he didn't know that white people, they wrote the law, and every charge got a statute of limitations. And what they did is they waited until the statute of limitations was almost up. Then they re-brought up the charges and gave him an unfair trial, and now he was convicted of all those charges, like 30 of them. So I just say, he thinks, and what is Bill Cosby? He's nothing but a comedian, but he's considered our role model for fatherhood. I mean, think about that. As a community, he's a comedian, but he's our role model for a father. And then he's acting on that. He's acting, playing a role. He's not just fathering those children in that show. And I think we forget that. I mean, it's all a show. It's all a fraud. So this is our dad, but he just playing a part. So, and then he's telling jokes on top of that. So I'm like, really? I mean, and see, that's part of our problem. You know, we don't have real role models. We got these play the part role models. And now his past caught up with him. And I just wanted to say that, to say, folk, let's not don't ever think you're above the law and think, you reached the plateau where they can't come get you. Don't ever think that. And so I think Bill Cosby kind of forgot that based on his comments. What he should have did, just kept his mouth closed, made his money quietly. But when you start talking about people and stuff like that, then it's past. Like, people start looking in your closet. People say, oh, look what I found. Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to say something for quick. I'm in much agreement with the brother. I mean, you can't ever justify what the man did. There's no way to get around that. But the sad thing about the whole situation, in my eyes, is it goes back to what I was saying earlier: propaganda. This man he's playing a part, he's playing a role, but what that symbolized to so many people beyond our community was a civilized, well-educated black family that set the standard for the globe on what a family should be. And it's sad that his individual actions outside of that part tarnishes that image for our people, because we don't have that no more. Look at what we got now, reality TV everywhere. Our people just making fools out of themselves left and right. Most popular shows, Empire and Power. We killing each other to move drugs or for music and fame and stuff. We don't have that no more. And that's what he symbolized. And we can't forget the man was about to try to buy NBC.
Yeah.
At the time, a big portion of NBC. And though he did those actions, why you think those people came forth at that time? To tarnish his reputation so he couldn't get that and continue, even if it's a facade, producing that type of entertainment for our people to change our image. And it's sad that his actions, like I said, his sin that's in his closet had to come to light and tarnish what he represented. But like the brother said, it was all an illusion anyway. But again, propaganda is power.
Man, that's crazy. This is Brother B.A. I just wanted to add this, what the Brother James was just saying. I'll land back. We in the age of social media, World Star Hip Hop, the Bad Girls, and all these various other platforms that are just degrading, especially when it comes to our people, because our people seem to be subject to these shows. Why is it that this mindset of drama has spilled over into the Hebrew Israelite movement? This is what I notice. I see a lot of niggerism through the form of being a Hebrew. We see it all over the various platforms. I don't have to name them because we know who they are. We know what they are. Why do we have the Hebrew version of World Star Hip Hop all over social media? We're supposed to be those, the light to the world, the light to the nations. Why is the niggerized concept still amongst even the Hebrew who proclaims that he or she is so conscious of the Most High? This is what me and Anonymous Hebrew want to change. We want to change the face of the Israelite male in the relationship of the Israelite woman. We want to change that because the Most High is going to hold us accountable for the way we're conducting ourselves as a whole. And why is it that we have certain Israelites who act like they shouldn't say anything when we see obvious bad behavior publicly? Why? I'm going to fall back.
Hey, like I said earlier, brother. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
Go ahead, Brother James. No, y'all the guests. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just gonna stand in agreement with the brother, man. Like I was saying earlier, man. Those are things that just gotta be done. I just wanted to add that to it. It gotta be done for our community because, like you said, the Most High is gonna hold us accountable for every word, action, and deed we do. And if we gonna be a light to the world on how to do it properly, again, how you treat your woman is how you see yourself, and you can't leave nobody treating yourself like nothing. I almost cursed.
I'll just add this real quick, and I want to thank Brother Mercy for calling in because he is a great supporter of every show on the platform, and I really appreciate that, brother. I will just say this: what we see happening once again is a psychosis situation, right? When we read in Torah, we understand about a sin of ignorance and then a sin of basically being purposeful. So a lot of this is ignorance. So some of what Bill Cosby was saying was accurate in terms of we got to overcome some of this stuff. You know, we understand that the man that is tender among us will have enmity with his brother and will hate his wife and will leave his children, right? So we know that this is a part of the cursing. So what we have to do is understand that we have been broken to the point of being destroyed. If you understand what those slave farms were about, it was about breaking the strongest man. They would take the strongest man and they would do the most unimaginable things to them. So I'm not making an excuse for our men, and I'm definitely not standing up for Bill Cosby because that's just horrendous. But what we have to do in order to fix our community is, like these brothers are saying, is be the light, be the example. And if you mess up, if you fall short, say I fell short, and you know, some areas we can't fall short in, you know. But if you get mad and you swear at your brother or you get mad at your brother, those are things that we can overcome, right? But we cannot have the disrespectful, the disrespect of our women, the taking advantage of our women, destroying the womb of our nation, right? That that's the thing we have to eliminate from our community. And I think we operate like we don't know that the spirit world is real. And eventually, the Most High is going to let these spirits whisper something in somebody's ear to go ahead and get you if you continue to operate without repentance. So I agree. A lot of this came out at a real suspicious time when he was buying NBC. But there's also just the fact that he was doing this since the 60s and 70s. I mean, that's just, it's horrible. So it's a twofold thing. One, we got to clean it up. But two, you know, we have to be able to, I think Brother Edwards was talking about it. The brothers that are trying to come out of it, we got to bring them out. We have to. Right? For whatever reason, the Most High got a number. The Most High got a number in his head. He wanted, you know, because if it was just a small number, it's enough of us right now where he could have just said, you know, all right, that's enough. So he want to see a real nation being built. So we have to go out here and be the light and show what it should look like. And, you know, I'll deal with that.
I'm in 100% agreement with all of that, man.
You got any more callers, sir?
All right, we have a lot of callers standing by, but you got to press number one, family. If you're out there, you want to chime in, the number is 319-527-6239. Once you dial that number, simply press number one. We'll add you in the conversation. Maury Youthdoc, you have any things that you want to bring out? Go ahead.
No, I'm pretty good for right now, Brother Sal.
All right, what about you, B.A.?
I'm sorry, brother. I had to step away for a second. Can you repeat that question?
I just wanted to know you had any more questions that you want to bring out, especially guests at this time.
Do we not necessarily? Are we going for closing statements, or are we just about that time? Or are we just going to go to the rest of the callers?
We got like 30 more minutes left, but you know we always got the overtime part of the show if need be. But yeah, you know we're just trying to see if we can get all the questions out from the panel before we go to the callers. Nobody else is pressing number one at this time though. But Maury Youthdoc callers dropped. Okay. Well, yeah. What about James Cassell? Anything else you want to bring out? You can bring it out now. Go ahead.
I want to talk about a little bit about what we've been talking about last day about the psychosis and stuff in our community. And I believe one of the brothers was talking about that he was getting a degree in order to help us in that area. I just wonder if he could expound a little bit on what he's actually doing and if there's any way that we could help contribute to his cause in going and getting that, because I think it's important, because that's going to be something that our community really needs.
Shalom, this is Anonymous Hebrew. So right now, I have a bachelor's. I have a double bachelor's, I guess. I have a bachelor's in religion and a bachelor's in psychology from Liberty University. So I originally started to go for my master's. I was going to go in biology because I wanted to be able to bring the genetics out but I have since changed that, and so at the end of this month, I'll be doing my summer session. I'll start my summer session and reclassifying, going into a master's specifically in psychology, and then I want to get a PhD in neuropsychology, basically. Right now, Most High is blessed. I went to the military. I was in the military, so all my stuff is taken care of through my GI Bill. I've been blessed. I don't have to ask for any help in that department. What I try to ask people to do is to start to study and read scholastic articles. Really read scholastic articles that are telling you about things like epigenetics. It was amazing to hear you bring that out, because even though it's an older science in terms of how long it's been around, the advances in that science are probably in the last decade of what you really see what's going on. That, to me, if we can understand that, is the key to reparations and all these types of things, because it shows through science how our community has been destroyed through slavery. If you understand that through the DNA, memories are actually passed. The reason we know this now is they have studies that have been done where someone can get a heart transplant or a liver transplant or a kidney transplant, and they'll wake up and they'll have the desires of the person that they got the liver from or the kidney from. You can study these things on YouTube, and you'll see the actual cases. But if you want to understand more, you can, like I said, look up scholastic articles that explain about memories passed through the DNA. If you don't think that this science of it is real, then you're discrediting the Most High. I tell people this: science is just now catching up with what the Bible is teaching us. It was the thing that set it off for me was when we found out that within 3 or 4 generations, you can overcome what has been done to you epigenetically. And in some cases, you can do it in 1, maybe even 2 generations, depending upon how early you catch it. It's not so much about the intensity, it's how early you make the change. Because at that point, everything is not set, especially in your frontal lobe, with how your brain is developing, and it will cause you to literally reshape the way your genes express. And I don't want to go into a genetic teaching, but if you understand the way that the DNA works, you have these clusters of cells, and these cells release expressions, and those expressions change how your body responds. So, for instance, our society, most of our neighborhoods are what I call gladiator zones. It's full of stress, high levels of stress on a consistent basis every day. So you have cortisol released into the genetics, released into your stream at a high level on a consistent basis, 30 days, 40 days, 90 days, 4 years, 5 years. This creates psychosis. It makes you neurotic. It makes you constantly on edge. These are things that people that come back from war have, right? I was a soldier. I was a combat soldier in the 82nd Airborne. So this is what got me into these studies. It's helping my friends overcoming it, helping myself overcome these things. The amount of psychosis and aggression that is in our community can only be overcome by studying the Torah, understanding how to treat your brother, how to treat the woman in your community, how to treat the children in your community. Right? If you don't get into that and understand that and devour that and then apply that to what even Mashiach Yeshua, what Jesus was teaching, you will not be able to overcome the society. When Romans 12 tells you to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, it's not a game, right? Transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is something that the Most High had already had planned for us. We have to renew, we have to go back to what He planned for us. The only way to do that is to educate ourselves. So a lot of what you brothers is talking about is right on par. We have to get to a point where the first thing we do is we get a level of homeostasis. We just have a baseline. Okay, now I'm normal. Now I can go up. Now I can assume. And the only way we can do that is to understand things like epigenetics. So for me, That is going to be my lifelong work, how to take that and merge it, how to take psychology and merge it with the study of the Bible, because it is of most importance for us to merge the two, because I don't even think any of us realize the amount of trauma that has been inflicted on all of us. And though some of us have strong family connects that have helped us, most of us don't, right? I grew up with a single mom. She did the best she could. I didn't have my dad around, even though he lived around the corner. But now since she's passed, he and I are best friends. And it's because she never talked bad about him, right? She would always say, look, I can't tell you why he's doing these things, but it is what it is. But you shouldn't hate your father. And I went through this hate of my father, hate him. And on her deathbed, she's telling us both, you have to learn to build a friendship, build a relationship. And now, all praise to the Most High, that's like my best friend. So these things are overcomable. I guess that's a word. You can overcome these traumas, but you have to do the work. His brother said it best. You have to do the work. You have to identify the problem. If you know that you're always angry and always upset about something, you're watching these TV shows, you're eating all of this weird food, you're thriving after the things that are not what you see in the book, it's hard, but set it down. Science tells us that you can reprogram your habits in 18 days. You do the same thing over the next 3 weeks. That's a habit now. If I get up and I read the newspaper every day, that's a habit now for 3 weeks. It's the same thing. Right? Eliminate all of these things out your life, and you will begin to see the changes in your life. That's the only way we get out of this. And unfortunately, we may not see this in our generation, but we can see it in our children. I don't know if the Most High going to want a lot of us to go into the kingdom. And I say us because I know we're all family. If we want to go, if we really want to make it, we got to eliminate this stuff. So I thank the brother for asking that question. And it is my goal, my life work now to figure out how to merge those things. And Most High will and I will accomplish that.
And the reason I ask, because this is a lot like what I was speaking about earlier, like something that's more grassroots, upstart. Like, we're going to need people that have dedicated their lives to doing what you've dedicated your lives to tell us how to best teach our children at young ages to overcome these things that were done to our forefathers that still affect us today. We're going to need that and be spread out through our communities, because we need our children to grow up with a different mindset than the one we grew up with. There's a type of good type of pride that comes with knowing who you are, identifying yourself through ancient history, through your connection with being a chosen people of the Most High God. Like, there's a certain amount of pride that comes with that these children need to have embedded with them at a young age. So when the same obstacles come up that would have stopped us, a lot of our forefathers jumping over those hurdles, when they look at them, they'll be like, oh, that's all I got to do is just jump over that hurdle right there. And they'll just jump right over it and not be worried about it, and lead us into the next level that is, I believe, that will be the gateway into the kingdom, because I think that time is coming near. Looking at all the things that's going on around the world, I think that prophecy is being fulfilled here and now, and these are the last days. And then that next generation, that just might be the generation that goes into that promised land and needs to have that different way of thinking in order to rule the way the Most High wants us to rule here as his kings and priests.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is my final question. I'm sorry, BA, but I've been sitting on this question because I didn't know if it was right to ask, because everything was so powerful, and I didn't know if it was going to be negative since you brought it up. How much does eschatology and that time clock weigh on how hard we should be pushing? You know what I'm saying? Like, we know, based upon what we starting to see, if you have eyes to see, you know what's happening. So does the eschatology or the end times, that clock approaching, does that accelerate the need for what we are doing? And if so, how do we convey that to other people without sounding like a kook?
Now,
No.
hold on, brother. Before you answer, I gotta let people know we got less than 20 minutes left on the air. We have less than 20 minutes left on the air, and we do have another guest. I mean, and for time's sake, I have to bring them in because we have less than 15 minutes left on the air. So, without further ado, I'm gonna allow the brother to come in and speak, and then we can get back into the question. All right, brother, go right ahead. Yo, Sal, you want to bring him in?
Oh, yeah, Divine Prospect, you on the air, brother? Got it.
Okay, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Loud and clear. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Shalom, Ms. Rakah. How's everybody doing on the line tonight? So far, I heard a lot of great information. A lot of people conveying their perspective on a lot of things that contributed to a great dialogue as a whole. I'm privileged to be invited onto the show tonight to speak about this subject matter in regards to RBG Hebrew perspective. I believe on the last time I was on the show, I kind of touched on it a little bit. But I'll just say a few things, and then I'll step back and just allow the conversation to continue on unless somebody has a question or something for me. But what I will say is that, I've found that a lot of times in our community as being Hebrew Israelites that we become so dogmatic when it comes to our walk that we tend to miss a lot of the practical things that are designed to enable us to become more spiritual. And people would say, well, what do you mean by that? And I would say, well, one thing that has always been a matter of subject or subject matter that's addressed in regards to the scriptures is that of autonomy. And it's very difficult to obtain autonomy when you have a high degree of sectarianism and people are unwilling to yield to the greater good simply because of doctrinal differences, right? So there's never going to be a time prior to divine intervention from the Most High that everybody's going to be on the same page. That's just not going to happen, right? The benefit of our forefathers is that they were in the land together, or they was in Egypt, the Mizraim, together, and because they were together and not scattered, everybody had the same vantage point when it comes to their understanding of what Torah was and how they should keep it. The unfortunate thing is now today, being that we have been scattered to the four corners of the earth in captivity, so we have not all been in the same land at the same time. We have not all have been brought up with Torah, all right? We have not all had the same elders and the same priests. We have not all been under the same monarchy. So there is going to be a situation where we are going to be split in our understanding and the way that we see things, the way that we perceive things, the way that we convey things, and the way that we live things. And understanding that there's never going to be a time where there's going to be 100% unity, even amongst the remnant. The main thing that we have in common is that we've identified our heritage. But once you go from there, there may be other common things that we may share, but then it's also a lot of differences. So the key thing is, what do we do in the interim while we're scattered in captivity until the Most High intervenes and he's able to pluck us out of the hands of our captors and place us back into the land where he establishes the branch of David to rule and govern not just us but all the nations? Well, we have to be able to look at Scripture for an example on that, and this all ties back to RBG. One individual who some of us on the line will identify as being in Israel is Marcus Messiah Garvey. Marcus Garvey identified via Catholicism in regards to his religion, but when it came to ethnicity, being that he understood that we were taken from different places along the shores, western shores of Africa. He understood that the common thing that we had was that we were from the continent of Africa. That's one thing that we can share. And by virtue of that, he called all people of color who were so-called Negroes, blacks, whatever other byword is used to describe us, as being African. And understanding that, he realized that there was a diaspora and that we were all in a ma'afa, or we were all dispersed because of a tragic incident that was traumatic, which is a form of human trafficking and kidnapping that occurred in regards to our ancestors. So his main thing was, listen, we are not unified, all right? A song came out that says even a coon doesn't have a flag, or knows he doesn't have a flag. And this was a very popular song that came out in the 1900s. And Marcus Garvey, in Article 36 of one of his UNIA meetings, decided that, we have to respond to the fact that we're identifying with every other nation, every other group, because we have nothing that represents who we are and what we are and what our goal is and where our projected target is supposed to go. So he decided, not just him, because he was the chairman of the UNIA at the time, but they all decided, okay, look, one of the first things we need is a flag to represent the cause in which we're trying to strive for. And the red having to do with the blood that was shed by our ancestors because of the traumatic incident that took place hundreds of years ago, that we all share in common, the land in which we've been removed from, that has the resources that we need in order to become autonomous again, and the color or ethnicity of our people. These three elements are things that we see as a common denominator, has nothing to do with religion, your spiritual walk, the way you worship has nothing to do with that. But if we can come together in an organized fashion so that way we can discuss solutions while we are in this captive state so we can have a degree of autonomy, then these colors will represent that, because there's no way that we will have full autonomy. No matter, even if you go back to our ancestors in Israel, they were different tribes. They had different banners that was representing them. They had different attributes. They were not all the same. The only common thing that they had was that they derived from the same ancestor. Other than that, there were differences amongst the tribes. So you're never always going to have one tribe of people. That's not reality. So in order to counter that, it's like, okay, we know that we have a shared traumatic event that occurred to us. We've woken up and identified that we are Israelites, but we realize that we are not a nation. We are an ethnic group of people that share customs and traditions and culture and literature and a worldview, but we are not a nation. We don't have an army, okay? We don't have a GDP, okay? We don't have our own national IP, okay? We don't have our own flag, even though some of us have created flags. We don't have our own flag, okay? We don't have our own political system, okay? We don't have our own financial system. We don't have our own banks. We don't have our own manufacturing plants. We don't have any of these things that a nation has. So being that we don't have any of these things, but we know from looking at Scripture, whether you want to look at the Tanakh, which we can go to Jeremiah chapter 29, where Jeremiah is giving a message to the captives that are in Babylon, and that is a message of autonomy. While you're in that land waiting to be called out, build gardens and vineyards and eat of it, build houses and live in it, marry up your sons and daughters to each other, okay? And while you're doing that, pray for the city that you're in. In that case, it's really appeal or to cause an action so that way the city can become prosperous, because when the city that you guys are in becomes prosperous, and if we go back to history and we look at where the Israelites were at Al-Yahudu, they were very prosperous while they were in captivity because they followed the instructions of Jeremiah. The problem was they got too complacent when it was time to leave. But because now we're able to look at the errors of our forefathers, we realize that in order for us to be prepared to leave, or when the judgments occur, in order for us to be like Goshen, we have to be able to share a commonality in regards to resources. How can we obtain these resources? Well, sometimes we have to be diplomatic. When Solomon needed to build the temple, he had to be diplomatic with the king of Tyre in order to get masons to assist to build the temple. In order for him to have peace with Mizraim, he had to marry the daughter of Pharaoh, in order for him to have peace within the land. In order for certain things to be accomplished, you have to have a diplomatic foreign policy. And that means these are people who may not share the same ethnicity as you, people who may not share the same nationality as you, people that may not even share the same worship of the deity as you, but they have resources for you to build your nation. So being displaced in captivity, all RBG shows and indicates that any people that we see as being displaced Israelites, whether they're in the diaspora or whether they're here domestically with us, we all have some sort of skill set and resources that if we come together and say, hey, look, in order for us to survive, we see this attack that's coming upon us. They don't care who we worship. They don't care what we identify as. All they see is a commonality, and that is what they attack. We can come together at least based on those terms to ensure that the places in which we dwell in has a degree of security and safety, so that way we can network, we can establish a community, we can become autonomous, so that when the judgments come and the Most High judges these nations, these things will not befall us because we will be so patriotic in regards to who we are as a people and patronizing the services that we have amongst each other. That way, when the judgments come, we are not with a umbilical cord attached to society, that we are concerned about what happens. But when Yah returns, he will see that we are people without spot, without blemish, because we are not compromising with the secular resources of society, but we are working amongst each other, and we have enough resources to continue to perpetuate our spiritual growth, because when you have issues like debt and health, these things can conflict with your spiritual growth. So when we see other people that have these resources, we band together and say, look, I don't care in regards to this, and that. I know that you have something that I need, I have something that you need, and the oppressor sees us as the same people. So let's work together at least on that front to ensure that we have the necessary resources. We can go back to our respective tribes, but in the interim, if we can band together behind this ideology, then we can have some degree of breathing room until the Most High redeems us. So ultimately what I want to say is that RBG is not a theology. It's not a theological worldview. It is an idea that if people who are similarly oppressed, that go by similar bywords that we see in Deuteronomy chapter 28, can come together and at least cross-exchange resources and see various ways in which we can partner and work together to ensure our survival and the protection of the generation that's coming up, by means of giving the things that we have and receiving those from others, that we can sustain ourselves and we don't have to depend on the oppressor to fund us, the oppressor to heal us, the oppressor to intervene in certain matters, and we can be those people that are the ecclesia that are called out without spot and without blemish. So when Yah returns, he sees an autonomous people as he has instructed in Jeremiah chapter 29 while we are in Babylonian captivity, and in the book of Acts, chapter 4, when they needed the resources to carry on their mission, they had to get things from within the community to sustain itself, so that way the mission and assignment that Yah has given us, or given them to our ancestors, that has now been placed upon us, that it can continue to function and it can continue to move forward. So RBG, again, is an idea in order for us to get the resources necessary so we can sustain ourselves until Yah redeems us, and we can have breathing room until it's time for us to get up out of this captivity. And with that, I say shalom.
Man, much love to you.
Yeah, right.
We appreciate you for that. And the key word, autonomous, that means to self-govern. And that's something that I strive for and hope and pray for, that one of these days, Most High willing, we see that. And if it doesn't happen with this generation, that it happens to the generation afterwards. And Most High willing, that we will be around to witness it ourselves. But we have 5 minutes left on the air. For those who are listening on the live stream, call the number. You want to email any questions, comments, or observations. It's debatetalk4u@gmail.com. Again, debatetalk4, the letter U, @gmail.com. And one thing I will also say, and I'll let the brothers get back to the question that Anonymous had posed out there. When it comes to us as Hebrews, this movement, the last couple of years we have seen some engagements from other individuals from the outside world. representatives of Christendom. I'll just leave it at that. Don't have to put no specific name on them because we know who they are. As you can see, it seemed like it was their goal to come here and stop and put us back in our so-called places. But as you can see, there's some things happening on their end. They're starting to falter. And no matter what, the more that people come against this movement, it seems like the stronger and the stronger we get. So when there are other individuals on the outside looking in, and I think one of the brothers had mentioned it earlier that the state or the opposition, every time that our people come together and we want to bring something to the fold to better ourselves, there's always the state or some type of the power structure that's coming against us. And honestly, I'm convinced that the approach of the other individuals on the outside that tried to come and stop this are representatives of the state, the church. If you're familiar if you're familiar with the system, how it works, the church, they are image of the state. They have their 501c3 tax exempt. They also take orders from the state. So before it goes beyond the state, the church, they intervene first. And we know who those representatives are. Don't have to say their names. And I see this movement growing. But the one thing that I have to mention, and we have to get out there and really put on the table, if this movement is going to grow and be more effective for our people who are in the dark, who are looking for a light, there are some things in this movement that are being taught that are contrary to the scriptures. We have to kill them and we destroy these doctrines of hate. We have to destroy the doctrine of hate because for some reason it's still a hindrance to us growing, even though we are growing. But I still feel like there are some teachings that do not line up with Scripture that have to be thrown out if we want to see the effectiveness of the Spirit of the Most High manifest on all of our people and bring order back. I was getting tongue-tied. Forgive me, brothers. If we're going to bring order when it comes to our people, we're going to have to destroy the false doctrines that are commonly taught that are known to be negative about our community as a whole. We know there's some of us that teach these doctrines, and we know there are other individuals that teach against them. But if Israel is going to be effective and that the Most High gets all the glory and recognition, we have to be one body. How you guys feel about that?
Well, I would say real shortly. First, I want to say I appreciate Divine Prospect coming in and packing so much power into just a short synopsis of what it is to be a RBG Hebrew, because I'm in complete agreement with him. And to what the brother was saying, I would have to say that every time it seems that a group comes against us, it causes a different type of unity within our community. Like if we look at the whole Kimino trial thing with the conscious community, that was really something that brought all of these different groups that were at each other's throats together to the point where we all talk now like on daily basis, you know, joking around, talking about things, and it's never really doctrinal beef going on between us. And it's just the same thing going on now with the Christians, the way they're coming out and trying to make it seem as though all Hebrews come from an extremist perspective. And it's just causing a lot of us Hebrews that don't come from what they would consider extremist perspectives to come out and give our perspective, which is more of an RBG perspective, you know. But, yeah, that's what I got to say about that. But it at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because what they think that they're doing to harm our community is always coming back to the glory of the Most High, because it just shows that he's really at work to unify our community. Every time turmoil comes against us, it's for a purpose. And he's just showing us that it's time for us to unify and to fight everyone that comes against us.
Okay. I agree with everything that the brother James just said. This anonymous Hebrew. So I'm just going to preface this real quick because I'm going somewhere with what I'm going to say. Last time we had Brother Divine on, I personally got accused of some, I guess, respecter of persons. and I'm going to explain why I feel the way I feel about this brother. I was in a very hard religious program where we had to explain our worldviews on a consistent basis. This is a very difficult school. And all of my papers were always under scrutiny because I didn't necessarily agree with everything that was being taught. And I had already, realized who I was. And it was the brother's teachings on YouTube. I'm not saying I agree with everything. We will never agree with everything somebody says it unless you're a robot. So I can't say I agree with everything the brother say. I'm sure there's some things I'll say one day that he don't agree with. The more I get active. But for the most part, the way that the brother presented the information, it gave me the tools that I needed to defend my worldview. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because it is important if you have information for the community to put it out there, because you don't know who it is that you're going to be able to affect and create professional advocates for this community. Right? I now have, some letters behind my name, and most I will, and I'll have more behind them and be able to sit in a room with people and hopefully one day be able to affect change simply because the brother listened to the Most High and did a study and presented these things online. So I appreciate the brother Divine more than most people will understand because I was under attack with my professors, and because I was reading and doing the research on the sources that the brother will put out and the things that I would see him show, it gave me the ammunition to get them Europeans off me. And I'll just put it out there like that. So from that perspective, Brother Divine, I will always be grateful for you. My question, I guess, is to both the brothers, to Brother James and Brother Divine, is once again, we know if we're looking at it from an eschatological perspective, we might be moving towards and streamlining and speeding towards some things happening. What is our job right now? What does it look like for us right now? And even if we want to unite under the banner of RBG and still maintain our own personal views, what is our job right now in order to be able to really affect the change in Israel that we want to see? If you guys can just quickly sum that up, based upon where we are in the world right now, what do we need to be doing, each one individually, based upon our own, strengths? What do we need to be doing to really get this thing, get the ball rolling to the point where the Most High wants to see?
You can go first, Divine, since you just got there shortly. Well, I guess he's not by the mic right now.
The Divine Prospect.
Did he mute himself?
Yeah, he probably muted himself. What's up in there?
Okay. Well, I would say, like I was saying earlier, it starts with us as individuals in our own households. Like I said, there's a lot of means that are out there that are coming available to us now that we're just going to have to go out there, search them out, and figure out ways to galvanize our money together in our local community to do things like start and create jobs. Also, obey Jeremiah, like what the Brother Divine brought up about how back in Yehudi, back in when they was in exile in Babylon, how they prospered because they got land, they built houses, they planted vineyards, and did the things that the Most High told them to do. And if we go out and we start doing those, even on individual levels with little community gardens and stuff, like we have one right here around the corner from my house, little community gardens and stuff like that, that'll help alleviate, people having to go and spend all their money over at the grocery store. So it can help, them put more money towards bills, more money towards things they need to do. It's so many things that we can do on individual levels right there in the community as just individuals that I think that's where it starts. And once you do that, then you connect with other people who are like-minded and show them how to do it and learn and teach each other.
Yo, Sal, is there any more? Is there any caller, Sal? You want to press the one that wants to chime in?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. 443-815, live.
I just wanted to say, it definitely was a good talk today. I just wanted to say that I think it's good that we do start a political party. I think that would be good, come up with our own stuff. So we can have our own political power. I think those things are important. But yeah, I think everything we talked about today was really good. I think we definitely need more political power. We need our own stuff like the Muslims, and we need to do our own thing. And because that's the only way we're gonna achieve. Oh yeah, one thing I want to say: it's hard to go back home like everybody else, especially if you don't know where home is at. What do you guys think about that? How do we go home if we're told we're African American, and then because we're the only people from a continent, everybody else from a nation? But we're the only people from a continent. So what do you guys think about that?
Thing I would say is, I would say if you are looking at a place to go and you want to go back, I would say right now West Africa is the place to go. It's the fastest place that's growing on the economic scene in the world right now. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I mean, go to one of the countries in West Nigeria, Ghana, a lot of these up in Sierra Leone, they're coming up economically. If that's what you want to do, I say, hey, all power to you. But I think it's important to understand that everyone doesn't have the means to do that, and it's important that we do things right here in our local community to make it easier for our people. And then if you want to go ahead and move over there and help people over there or prosper over there with the rising economy, go over there and do it. I mean, I'm not going to knock anyone trying to go and make a lot of money to put their family in better position. But like you said, we know where our homeland is, and we know that we won't be returning there to the Most High sends us there. So no matter where we go, we know that we have to represent the Most High in a certain way, and there's certain things that we're supposed to do, like I said earlier, follow Jeremiah to help us set up an economic means of autonomy, like the Brother Divine said earlier.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Brother CASSELL, so you say you do real estate, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with wholesaling?
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar with wholesaling. My family's investors. We get properties from them all the time.
So I was explaining this to Brother BA not too long ago, and I'm in Georgia, so that's something that I'm into. Is that something that you think can be a good tool for our people, especially because it doesn't take a lot of capital, it doesn't take a lot of knowledge?
I would say, yeah, definitely. I mean, depending on how good you can get a deal done, I mean, you can make easy, $2,000-$3,000 on a deal. I mean, I've seen some people make $15,000 on a deal.
Right.
I think this is a great means, especially just for a startup to get quick cash.
Right.
That doesn't take a lot of money to get into. I think that's great, man. I mean, I'm about to actually roll out one myself, a wholesaling business myself. I mean, I might as well make money on that end too.
This is what I tell people. I said, if you can do that, say like you get 4 or 5 of your friends and y'all go into that, and each one of y'all do 3 or 4 deals, 5 deals over a year. Now you have enough capital where you can go buy an apartment complex or something,
Or you can get one of the houses you wholesale and then flip it yourself.
Flip it yourself, exactly.
Yep.
So I would suggest that if people don't understand what that is, there's several things on YouTube you can find. It's really not hard, but wholesaling, real estate wholesaling, but you have to do it ethically, and find out the proper ways to do it. But if you study and really do it correctly,
going out there and actually
it
doing
does. It does. It does. It does require work. You're right. But it is. I would say personally, I have seen the benefits of it, and I'll leave it at that. especially in Georgia. If you do the research and find out the different states that you're in, you can. If you don't know much about real estate and you're worried about really getting your feet wet, that's a great way to get started in that. So I just wanted to know what you thought, because you said you were in it. So
yeah, a lot of people use that as the gateway into real estate investing. That's how you get your capital coming up fast without a lot of money putting into it down. So yeah, I mean, that's great.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to put that out to the people and just remind people, like, there are so many avenues that we have that we can utilize to take our people to the next level. And then that'll bring me to my next question, and I'll just fall back probably for the rest of the night and just listen. We've had a lot of people, I guess, in the conscious community, and I'm using air quotes, take advantage of our people financially. If we want to move forward, we have to figure out some way to unify financially. What do you feel about maybe some type of trust funds or things like that, things that people can kind of just count on that they wouldn't be taking advantage of? Is there any way, any real secure way that we can unify financially as a community that would be that wouldn't give as much risk to people? They donate their $100 and then all of a sudden it's gone. Do you have any suggestions?
I mean, that's a hard one. I mean, I would say make sure when you go into any type of business engagement to have some type of legal help when you go into these things. You want to have a lawyer, or you want to have someone that you can really trust that's been in the business of law for a while, that's going to look over your paperwork for you, because you want to have the legit paperwork. So if anything goes wrong, you can at least go and take them to court and try to get your money. But again, everything in free enterprise is based in trust. You trust that if you give your money to someone, they're going to give you the goods or the services they promised to give you. And there's no real way around that. And that's why I said it's important that you start local in your community with the people around you. That's why it's important not to be sending your money to someone in another country where another state where you can't reach out and see what's actually going on with your money. Because people will scam you. They will take your money and run. And if they're a scammer, they don't care if they're going to scam you under the guise as a Hebrew Israelite or as a Kemetic or whatever. They're going to scam you and should tell you whatever they need to tell you to get your money. So you want to do whatever you're doing local with people you know and people you trust that you know going to keep those laws, statutes, and commandments.
Thank you for that, brother. I think that's...
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, just letting everybody know we lost Michael Edwards. His call dropped. Moray Evestock, and I believe Devon is here, but let me see if it's working. Devon Prospect, you there? Can you hear us? Yeah, we have some technical difficulties tonight. So it's only two of you guys left now, and we lost Bia as well. So it's only Anonymous Hebrew and it's only James Cassell. So all we can do is get some last words. I appreciate everybody that came on the panel today. Once again, I believe this was another classic show for the family out there that's tuning in, and hopefully you guys learned something, and I know you did from this conversation. So pretty much we're going to get some last words, and again I thank all the special guests and the panelists and co-hosts that came on the show. So let's get some last words. James Cassell, go ahead.
All right, again I'd like to give all honor and praise to the Most High in the name of His only begotten. And I would like to say it was an honor to be on here with your brother Anonymous Hebrew. It was good to see we can go a little bit back and forth with the epigenetics. Michael Edwards even contacted me and told me to give you his contact information because he really liked what you were saying and he wanted to discuss some things with you. And he also said that he had to take care of some family matters, so he had to cut the call short. Also, shout out to the Moray. I think he asked some very good, powerful, and pertinent questions, and always love and respect to Brother B.A. Yeah, we've had our engagements before. It's always been love and respect from that brother. And I thank you, Sal, for bringing me on here and let me give my perspective. And also thanks to the Brother Divine for coming in and giving such a short and powerful brief synopsis of the perspective and exactly the things we need to do to help push our community forward. And again, thank you again, Sal, for inviting me on your show.
Not a problem, my brother. We're definitely going to bring you back on next season. Let's go to Anonymous Hebrew. Last words.
I just want to say all praise to the Most High. Obviously, Shabbat Shalom to the family. I want to thank all the brothers for coming out. Brother Edwards, Brother CASSELL, Brother Divine, the Moray, Brother B.A. Obviously, thank you to Brother Sal for putting up this platform. I would tell people to continue to support the brother. If you feel like this platform is doing something in your life, support it, because he does a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. So I will also say that when you listen to this show and you go back, these brothers brought out some powerful information tonight. And these are the type of things that we need to be taken to heart and really apply into this nation. If we want to see these things change that are affecting our community, they have laid out a brilliant blueprint. Even if you don't want to unite with the RBG movement, they have even admitted, they will still work with you. So the goal is to move forward as a community under the auspices or under the instructions that the Most High has laid out for us. So I appreciate these brothers. I applaud these brothers for their effort. I will tell everyone that as a nation, although it doesn't seem like it, we are growing and we are building, and we have to now start moving forward and be the image of the things that we hope to see. So if you need to get in touch with us, obviously you know how to get in touch with Brother B.A. You can get in touch with me or Brother Sal. And if you need to get in touch with these brothers, I'm sure Sal will put the information in the links. And I appreciate everybody and love the family. Shalom, Mishpachah. Shabbat Shalom.
All right, stand by. We got word that Devon is back. All right,
Okay.
Devon, you got some last words, brother. Last words, Devon.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, you loud and clear. You good?
Oh, my apologies. Thank you, Show, for another great show. Definitely appreciate being invited onto the show. I want to say shalom to all the brothers that came on the line. For the parts that I did hear, it was powerful. It's great to really have a platform to have this type of dialogue without the ad hominems, the argumentation, the yelling, the screaming, because our objective is to bring clarity to the listening audience who may not be as well versed as we are in regards to the subject matter. Ultimately, this is a step in the right direction. Even amongst our differences, if we can continue to share an appreciation for this type of dialogue amongst one another, it will bring us closer together as a group, as an ethnicity, and as a nation. And if these conversations then spill over into building a rapport with one another, so we can actually start exchanging or cross-exchanging resources, so that way we all can get to that finish line together as a community, then I think that every breath that we've uttered on here is worth the investment. And, again, I got to give shout out again to my brother Sal Showtime for making this possible, even on last minute. I know I was asked to do it last minute, but off the strength of Sal and a good friend of mine, James, I said, okay, look, let me move some time off my schedule and let me get on this call, because you brothers were saying some heavy stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I always learn. I'm a student first before I teach, So much love and respect to everybody on this platform. Keep doing what y'all doing. Let's keep building this nation up. Kwam Yasharala, all praise to the Most High, and I look forward to building and speaking with you, my family, again. Shalom.
HebrewWay.com, high-quality custom Israelite apparel store. The place to find scripture-based attire for men, women, and children of all ages. We have a wide range of t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, caps, beanies, and bags, available in a full range of sizes. Also, the ideal place to find Israelite gifts for family and friends. HebrewWay.com is geared toward awakening men and women and especially the youth worldwide. Try our uniquely crafted collection with free shipping on eligible items. Help spread the word of the Most High. Visit us at HebrewWay.com. That's HebrewWay.com. Shalom. HebrewWay.com. High-quality custom Israelite apparel store. The place to find scripture-based attire for men, women, and children of all ages. We have a wide range of t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, caps, beanies, and bags, available in a full range of sizes. Also, the ideal place to find Israelite gifts for family and friends. HebrewWay.com is geared toward awakening men and women and especially the youth worldwide. Try our uniquely crafted collection with free shipping on eligible items. Help spread the word of the Most High. Visit us at HebrewWay.com. That's HebrewWay.com. Shalom.